On this episode of Hit the Mats podcast, we review WWE's Fastlane pay-per-view, the Blackheart is injured, and Batista can't stop drooling over Triple H.
Give me what I want!
Stay tuned!
Tonight's main event. Welcome to Hit the Mats. In this corner, from New Milford, Connecticut, your WWE mentor, Dan, the Man, Maloney! And his opponent, from Toledo, Ohio, the filthy casual himself, Chris Holcomb! Let's get it on!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hit the Mats podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chris Holcomb.
And I'm Dan the Man Maloney.
And we're here to give you all the saucy deets on everything WWE this week. For those of you unfamiliar with the show, this is your weekly World Wrestling Entertainment podcast featuring Dan, the diehard fan, and I, your resident filthy casual, as we run you through the latest news, review the latest WWE events, and discuss a topic about the world of wrestling for your entertainment. If that sounds like a good time, be sure to hit like and subscribe on the YouTube channel and rate well elsewhere. It really does help us out. Be sure to check us out on our Patreon page, patreon.com/hitthebooks. You can also check out our website for links to all of our podcast services and our YouTube channel. That website being htbvids.com. And you can always reach out to us on Twitter at htbvids and on Facebook at /hitthebooks. And I hope I covered all the bases. All right. So I want to extend an apology to everybody out there. We had the plague for an extended period of time. I had it first, and then Dan caught something entirely more plaguified.
Thanks, bro.
And I refuse to take the blame for this. It was probably my fault, but I refuse to take the blame.
Typical.
So yeah, we took a sick day. We actually tried to record an episode, but because I was so sick, I was coughing the entire time into the mic and trying not to, but still coughing into the mic. And I had left some programs running in the background, which certainly did not help, and corrupted some of our audio. So I just gave up on it and I trashed it. So it's been a little bit of time since we had our last episode of Hit the Mats podcast. It wasn't for lack of trying. We just fucked up and we were sick. So sorry.
We're sorry.
And we're already kind of late on the next episode. So this episode will be kind of condensed. We're not going to do a topic of the show because we're going to talk about Fastlane instead. So we're going to start off with our Fastlane review, and then we're going to run into the kind of fallout shells from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK, and run you through that particular week, which is now over a week ago, because again, we're running a little behind. I have not watched the current week stuff, so as of this episode, that will put me up to that date. Dan has watched the product this week, so he'll be a little bit more ahead, and he might have some foreshadowing for me, and hopefully we won't
I'll try to be careful.
Run into spoilers here. So without further ado, let's get into the show. So first up, we had our Fastlane pay-per-view. Overall, I think we were pretty happy for what is probably the smallest pay-per-view in WWE. So we opened the show officially with McMiz versus the Usos, where Miz gets pinned once again. And we had a huge McMahon turn where McMahon, he assaults Mr. Miz himself.
Not Mr. Miz. There's some bridges that are just too far.
And even Corey Graves had to side with the Miz. Even Corey.
That's when you know you've crossed the line.
That's beyond evil. Beyond evil.
And we know Corey doesn't even like Mr. Miz, so really hit some sensitive spots.
He called him the potato-faced man. And he still defended him. But yeah, it was It was a pretty significant turn. It was one that I didn't see coming. Like, you were predicting a turn for Miz himself.
I was predicting that one of them would turn the single second that they became co-besties. But yeah, I was thinking it was more likely to be Miz. So, but I've really been enjoying Miz as a babyface, which he's never really gotten to be a babyface. And he's really good at being the sympathetic, kind of dopey, just wants to please everybody. Daddy issues, bro. With his Basset Hound eyes. So I like that we're getting Miz, getting a little babyface run here. I thought this turn was done really, really well. Shane, it looked brutal. I mean, it was uncomfortable to watch.
It was very uncomfortable to watch.
You knew you were watching a performance, but it was uncomfortable to watch because of how brutal it was.
And full disclosure, I was devastated.
Yes, of course. You were.
I was devastated.
Yeah, major man crush on the co-bestie relationship.
And I should speak up. Later on in the episode, we're going to be talking about SmackDown. We were at that SmackDown. In fact, we were in the opening shot with our awesome Daniel Bryan signs, fickle, impotent. And
he's impotent.
And I'll put a screenshot of that on this episode and probably use it as the thumbnail.
We were in VIP seats, by which I mean not VIP seats.
We were behind a mountain. We were
it was literally
at ground
the mountain.
level.
From Game of Thrones, it was literally the mountain.
And he was dressed as Samoa Joe. And super nice guy. He tried to kind of crouch a little and be considerate, but damn was he big.
He was enormous.
It was, and everybody that was with him was big.
Yeah.
It wasn't like just an isolated guy.
A family of giants. It was the mountain and all his mountainettes.
So we were having trouble seeing at some point.
We couldn't see anybody come to the ring. But once they were in there, we could mostly see them.
Yeah.
From the shin up.
The high flyers were much appreciated during that event.
Yes, thank you, Mustafa Ali, for giving us something to watch.
So, if you want to see what our live take of that show was, in addition to the TV show, stay tuned.
Also, I do want to mention on the pre-show of Fastlane, there was a match between the New Day and Naka Rusev, as I've taken to calling them.
I hate this tag team. I hate it.
I also hate this tag team, but I think this was the best that the tag team has looked. This was a really solid match, given they were working with the New Day, who can pull a good match out of just about any tag team, but really solid match. New Day got the pin, so... hopefully they get some momentum going. I figure the better the stable looks, the better Kofi looks. So
now, when you say New Day, I missed this part. When you say New Day, was it Big E and...
It was Woods and Big E, yeah. Woods and Big E. So pretty entertaining match. Relegated to the pre-show as expected. They kind of slapped it together at the last minute. It was the bona fide filler match, but it was a good match. So
nice.
Props to those guys. It was the most entertained I've been by Naka Rusev.
Yeah. And this is probably one of the big reasons why I enjoyed Fastlane so much, is that Elias trolled Cleveland mercilessly the entire time. And as a Bengals fan, I really appreciate that. In fact, Northeast Ohio just kind of sucks in general. So
it does. I've learned this.
Yeah. He tried to be a Browns fan.
I tried.
And then we went through a pothole-ridden, terribly designed city.
Just took one trip.
And he was done.
One visit.
He was done.
It was over. All the love was lost.
The place of his birth was foreboding.
I'm never going back if I don't have
to. I saw Metallica there. It was great. Driving through Cleveland, not so great. I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate it. I just hate it.
I was surprised. It really made me appreciate Bridgeport, Connecticut more than I ever did, though. I can say that.
All right, enough on pretending to be Elias here. But yeah, Elias trolled Cleveland and The Miz mercilessly there. Then we had Mandy Rose versus Asuka, which I'm glad. Finally, we're getting some Asuka appearances, even if it seems to be pushing this whole Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville storyline thing. But once again, Corey's still undefeated. Corey Graves he loves him some Mandy Rose, and his commentary is always outstanding.
He really brings his A game for God's greatest creation.
He really does. Now, we had some pretty cool moves throughout in my notes here. I really appreciate this match. Normally, I'm not a big Mandy Rose person. In fact, I really wish Sonya Deville was just the only person fighting Asuka, because Mandy Rose annoys me sometimes. But it was a really solid match all throughout, and I couldn't complain that much. The thing I do complain about is the end, where they're trying to set up this weird storyline where Sonya Deville accidentally sabotages Mandy Rose because she's trying to help, and then there's a potential breakup there. That's kind of alluded to in the story, and then we get a fucking savage kick from Asuka to end the match, which was awesome, and I loved it.
Always.
I love Asuka.
She's so brutal.
Yep, and I got to thank Dan the Man Maloney over here. He's the one who introduced me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Asuka is, I mean, if I were putting money down, I would say that Asuka, I think, is probably the best in-ring performer among the women in the company, which I've said that about Charlotte Flair before, because Charlotte can do so many things, but Asuka's technical expertise and her striking is so incredibly on point. She has such intensity. She's able to tell stories just with her facial expressions and her vocalizations and her body language.
Which she has to, because she's limited language.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think about the fact that I haven't hardly heard her say anything, because she doesn't have to say anything.
But you know what?
She expresses herself.
Even though she's very aware that she's linguistically challenged, on an English audience, she still pushes it to 100. Like, she pushes those promos all the way to the point where you're like, I don't even care that she's limited.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't even think about it. And, as far as this match goes, I didn't think that much of it. I think I probably thought a little less of it than you did. Mm-hmm. But I will say that it was my favorite Mandy Rose singles match I've seen, so I will give her props for that. It was the most entertained I've been by a singles match of her. I didn't think it was bad. Mm-hmm. I would give it like a just passing score, just because Asuka's so good, and I know what she's capable of, and she's capable of so much more than happened in this match. So I still wish she had an opponent that could kind of keep up with her a little bit, but I do think this was Mandy Rose's best singles match that I've seen. Yeah.
Next up, we had a triple threat title match setup that became a handicap match with Kofi versus The Bar. Basically, I wrote in my notes, none of this makes sense, and then we had the Rusev Nakamura show up and whatnot, and it was just bad. I don't know. I wasn't wild about it. I get that we have to delay things until WrestleMania because that's the goal now. But it's just a slog when it happens.
Yeah, I think, they're trying to ramp up this authority versus Kofi angle where it's, the typical trope we've seen 1,000 times, which, people complain about tropes, but tropes exist for a reason. This is one of them that happens to work if you do it right. I think they've mostly done it right up to this point, but the thing that kind of made me wonder was just why, Vince has been portrayed as a bit of a heel in recent weeks, but why would he just all of a sudden become a complete sadist out of nowhere towards Kofi? Because this was just recreational sadism on his part.
It really
and he hasn't been portrayed as quite that maniacal up to this point, so it seems kind of senselessly sadistic. But, if they're going with this, Vince is the man that's going to hold Kofi back, then this is a way to ramp it up. And, as far as complete squash matches that are 2-on-1 handicap, okay, it was fine.
Yeah.
Didn't take up that much time, so can't complain too much there.
Yep.
I didn't totally get Vince's motivations. Hopefully they expound on that more in the coming shows.
Yep. And I just want to make sure I add these in there. For the McMahon's match, the Usos got the pin during the Mandy Rose versus Asuka match. Asuka ended it with the kick and got the pin. And then during this, throwaway thing, The Bar obviously pinned Kofi. And then we went on to another Elias promo, where Elias again insults The Miz and Kofi this time. And he then goes on to just tear the Cavs in Cleveland in general apart, and it was glorious. He's talking about why LeBron left again. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Next up, we had a Ricochet Alistair tag team match versus Glorious.
Or Blackish A, as I've taken to call him.
Blackish A.
Blackish A and Glorious versus the Revival.
Yeah. And this move was this match was fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. It was
finally.
And the guys that don't flip, they flipped.
Yeah.
They flipped a lot.
No flips on their shirts. They flipped off the top rope and got a holy shit chant for their efforts.
Yeah. It was pretty great. So we had big moves on display from pretty much everybody the entire match. We had the holy shit chants, as Dan just referenced, which was great.
Yeah.
And well-deserved.
This was a very rare instance where I really feel like, I was just rewatching some NXT takeovers last weekend and seeing some of the matches the Revival had there were some of the best tag matches I've ever seen. And it just frustrates the hell out of me that you really haven't seen the Revival be able to spread their wings and show what they can do in these kinds of matches. Yeah. And this one, they really let them loose. And I saw the takeover Revival again.
It was so good.
They showed why they're my favorite tag team in WWE right there with the Usos, because they're just so good as bringing together talent that they're up against and bringing the best out of all of them. And yeah, Scott Dawson jumping off that top rope was just insane. A front
Very
flip.
nice. Very nice.
And yeah, obviously tons of talent among Blackish A, and we all know what Glorious is capable of, so this match was just an absolute banger.
Yeah. Even though I'm still not a big fan of the whole Blackish A tag team, just because I don't think their characters work very well together.
Yeah, they're incongruous gimmicks is the problem.
It's just something doesn't mesh right. I still love how much respect they each get in the ring. Whereas, like, the Glorious guys, the Revival guys, they seem to avoid Alistair, in character, in the ring, as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I like the respect that they get as competitors. It's like, hey, these guys, we'd probably not fuck with them as much as possible. And I'm like, hey, that gives them a lot of credit. You know?
I think it's a sign that that Vince and the people in the back really believe in those two guys, which they absolutely have much reason to. And especially Alistair has been heavily protected since his loss at TakeOver Phoenix against Ciampa in the main event. He really has. I don't think he's lost anything since then, and he's been scoring most of the pins and most of even the tag matches he's been in. So they clearly feel pretty good about Alistair, and they want to keep him right up
Honestly,
there.
I think he could be the most popular guy in the company not too long down the road.
Oh, wow.
I love
Bold
him.
prediction.
He's definitely the most popular guy in my heart.
Yes.
So.
That one we knew.
Next up, we had a Fatal 4-Way versus R-Truth, Andrade, Rey Mysterio, and Samoa Joe, with Samoa Joe brandishing his new U.S. title that he took from R-Truth prior that week.
Finally, Joe has a belt.
Any belt.
About damn time.
How is that possible?
How?
I didn't believe it.
It's
until
insane.
Dan told me this, and I was like, "There's no way."
Oh my god,
there's no way.
Ugh.
And I thought back, what about when AJ Styles had the belt? He took it from AJ once, right? Nope.
When he won the title on SmackDown, I absolutely marked out. I'm not even a Joe fan primarily, but I was just so happy to see him finally get a belt on the main roster. He was an NXT champion, so he did have a belt, but he's never had a main roster belt in 2 years.
Yeah.
So it was well past due.
Now, I struggle with this a little bit because, of course, I rooted for Joe in this, and I wanted him to have his belt and retain the belt and all these great things. But I was kind of just on the DL enjoying R-Truth having the belt. I really enjoyed it for his one title defense, and his one successful title defense, I should say.
We got to give him credit. He made that belt relevant again because it went away when Rusev and Nakamura were trading it. It went away,
and he made R-Truth, for me, relevant again.
Yeah.
R-Truth just as the character, because he was putting on awesome matches. He was having a fun, entertaining gimmick with the old John Cena fanboyism, even though he's older. It was fun.
When we were at SmackDown, those "What's Up" chants were just about the loudest ones we heard all night.
Yeah.
I mean, the fans love the guy. He has tons of personality. He's been paying his dues for years and years and years. He's been wrestling forever. And
you want to talk about overlooked, black wrestlers? Yeah, R-Truth is quintessential overlooked black wrestler who's just got all the ability in the world, and clearly has a great character and gimmick that's fun to play along with,
and has made obvious in making that character so popular that you can give him anything and he will make it great.
Yes.
He will make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
So again, this match was so loaded, and I feel bad for R-Truth because it is so loaded that he kind of, even though he's showing up and just rocking out, he's paling in comparison to Andrade and Rey Mysterio and Samoa Joe, who are all just monsters themselves and just A+ performers that I want to see basically the entire show. If the entire Raw show and the entire SmackDown show and the entire NXT show was just Andrade, Rey Mysterio, Samoa Joe, and let's throw an R-Truth in there. I'd be more than placated.
You could and often do a lot worse.
Yes. But this was a great match. Samoa Joe gets the pin in the end. Big moves all around by everybody.
Oh, he didn't get the pin. He choked his chicken.
Yes, he choked his chicken. Rey Mysterio had this very awkward chicken outfit that was just
a
weird.
Rooster mask.
It was weird.
Big feathered headdress.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a luchador traditional type of deal. And we're probably being super disrespectful right now.
Probably,
but he looked like a chicken.
He looked like a chicken, and Joe choked his chicken in the end and got the tap out there.
Fell to the coquina clutch.
But yeah, great move. I even enjoyed
Great
the
match.
Zelina and Carmella
Yeah.
kind of play on the
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
They were delivering some nice hits,
Yeah.
to each other,
That
which
was
I
a great,
thought.
I love Carmella's super kick. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a big
Which is why I
Carmella
hate
person,
her being
but
next to R-Truth,
her
because
super
she's not
kick is just-
wrestling.
it's
She
true.
needs to be a villain and be
It's true.
wrestling
She was
in the
ju-
women's
She
division.
was just getting good, and then they stopped.
Yeah,
putting
then
her
they're
in
like,
the ring.
"Hey, you want to be
Good enough, I
R-Truth?"
Yeah.
Brody.
She was growing in the ring, and
Yeah.
then they took her out of the ring. But I love her super kick. She's one of my favorite super kicks.
So overall, that match was awesome. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it.
Awesome.
I'm sure it's somewhere on the internet.
I'll watch it again.
Let's watch it right now. Next up, we had Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Tamina and Nia Jax as tag teams. And boy, was this rough to watch. Nia Jax looked like a penguin, which I secretly enjoyed.
Staying on the bird theme from the last match.
Yes. We had a nice finish at the end by Bayley against Nia. And, I give Nia a lot more credit. Tamina was struggling.
Tamina's a dumpster. That botch. There was one point where they tried to lift Sasha into a Samoan drop and a tandem Samoan drop, and Tamina literally couldn't get Sasha up onto Nia Jax's shoulders.
Yeah.
This is a person who probably weighs 105, soaking wet, and gave you a jumping running start, and you're supposed to be a powerhouse wrestler in the division.
Yeah,
I mean, it was so pathetic. She can't even do the one thing well that doesn't take any talent.
It was pretty rough, and it wasn't the only kind of rough execution throughout the match. I mean, I don't know if maybe something's off with Tamina or if she's really just that poor, but it was
really poor.
Every time she was matched up with Sasha, for whatever reason, things were not going well, and it just looked awkward.
Yeah. No chemistry there. I think Bayley and Nia have some chemistry. I thought they had a match on TV a couple weeks ago, which I thought was one of the Nia Jax matches I've enjoyed, which I was surprised by.
That was the one that was cut out by Hulu,
yes,
so I never saw
it. But at the same time, I've always said that I think Bayley is the best woman in the company at pulling good matches out of less than talents. But even so, got to give Nia Jax credit. That was a pretty good match, and I thought that when her and Bayley were in the ring were the best parts of this match.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was really sloppy and bad, and I couldn't get back into it after that tandem Samoan drop botch. It was just so blatant.
It was tough. It went kind of long. It didn't feel right. Nothing felt right. In the end, Nia and Tamina lashed out by wrecking Bayley and Sasha after they get their victory there, and then Beth Phoenix jumps in and then just gets beaten down immediately for no reason.
That was
the most worthless contribution ever.
Pretty uninspiring return to action for the Glamazon.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing there. And then Natalya also runs in. Talk about wrestlers that are probably a little overdue to go into the sunset. Just retire.
Yeah, it's about done.
But Natalya also just gets wrecked for no reason. And then I put in my notes, I wonder if this will maybe lead to a potential like Natalya, Beth Phoenix type of, hey, let's go lap around the ring a few times and do some fun stuff. And then, go back to being who we are.
Beth has clearly been staying in shape for it because she looks jacked as hell. As much as she took
she was fit. She was fit for sure.
She is jacked. She is huge.
And let's face it, Natalya is fucking strong.
Yeah.
She doesn't wrestle too often anymore, but when she does, she's always lifting people up.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
not just the small people.
Yeah, and she's still so technically sound that's something that'll help extend her longevity a bit.
But it seemed kind of worthless to have them run out for no reason and then just get destroyed.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they jumped in then.
So I was like, okay, that contributed nothing, but maybe it was a time thing. Who knows? Next up, we had the triple threat match with Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, and Mustafa Ali, the person who was supposed to be in the Elimination Chamber.
Surprise entrant into this match.
Yep. I don't think we had any warning about him, right?
No,
He just showed up. Right?
Yeah. So Vince wasn't lying when he said the WWE Championship would be a triple threat match. So I guess he's totally vindicated.
Told the truth.
Yeah,
he told
said
the truth.
Exactly what was going to happen.
He didn't say that you were going to run out there into the triple threat match. He just said the match is starting right now.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's all I said.
Listen to your boss, people.
So this match was tits. It was fucking amazing.
Unbelievable.
And it's probably one of my favorite Daniel Bryan matches I've ever seen from him, especially with that ending. That ending was so fucking
instantly
cool.
One of my top 5 favorite finishes to a match.
So we had the early trash talking from Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan, and they were both just fucking on point. They were killing it.
I think Kevin Owens is the best in-ring trash talker in the company, and I think he's
great.
a little limited in the fact that he's a face now, so he can't really go
can't be
after
as
you
bad as he wants
much.
to. Yeah.
But he still comes up with something, which I just love about him.
Yeah, it was great. I fucking loved it. I put in my notes, I was so distracted by the great match that I didn't even remember to make notes every time there was some kind of tempo change.
You couldn't take your eyes off the screen.
I was loving it.
Yeah.
I was loving it.
It was so good.
And then at the end of my notes, I put, I really wish that the Kofi thing wasn't a distraction, because the problem is the fans kept chanting for Kofi. Now, down the line, they forgot, and they're like, holy shit, this is amazing. We'll chant for Kofi later. But, I'm not saying I don't want to see Kofi at WrestleMania or anything like that. I do. I just wish it wasn't a distraction for how great this match was. From beginning to end, this was a great match. And the whole flying knee in midair at the end was just phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
I loved it.
And let's not forget that Kevin Owens attempted a literal suicide dive when he threw himself over the top rope by his hands, did a full front flip, and then crashed onto Rowan, kind of skidded off him, and then went face first into the announce table area. And luckily, he fell right between the two announce tables.
Yeah.
And when he got back up, you could see he went straight over to the main announce table and started pounding on it like he was pumped up. But you could tell a little bit of it was, you almost just killed me. You almost just killed me. It was almost a literal suicide dive. So thank goodness we're not doing an obituary for Kevin Owens today.
Yeah, he just got back from that injury
just shows one of the things that makes Kevin Owens special is that he's a fat man that will throw himself like no other fat man.
So respect all around. Mustafa Ali was great. Kevin Owens was great. Daniel Bryan was phenomenal. I loved it. And of course, I'm always rooting for the planet's champion because I love the planet Earth. Do you?
I love onion rings.
Fickle!
Go Kevin Owens.
Fickle! But yeah, it was a great match. Loved it all around.
Fantastic.
I can't.
Instant match of the. It's going on the match of
for
the
me.
list.
For me, it's a 10 out of 10 for that match alone. Like it's just awesome. Next up, we had what was, I don't know about you, but for me, this was kind of the low point of the show.
Absolutely.
Where we had a injured Becky Lynch up against Charlotte Flair. And another, stereotypical impossible odds to overcome match to basically knock her out of WrestleMania. The leg injury thing is just dumb. It doesn't work. It's been going on way too long for a kayfabe injury. And then way too late in the match. I mean, this match went way too long. It was
it went a full 8.5 minutes.
That's insane.
That's way too much time.
Insane.
Because they were barely doing anything. Because they barely could do anything.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah. And then Ronda comes out at the end and causes a disqualification, making Becky Lynch the winner, so that a 3-way WrestleMania is now confirmed, as a lot of people were suspecting, and we were talking about on the show a couple episodes ago. It was. I get what they were doing. If that's what you're going to do it quickly. I don't see any reason why this needed to be 8.5 minutes.
Yeah,
it was. Everything else in the show had me really hyped. I felt really good, especially after that awesome 3-way match. Like, I did not need this to basically cause the show to stop.
Yeah,
just completely dead stop right there in the road.
I don't think the SmackDown Women's Championship went 8.5 minutes. I think the SmackDown Women's Championship match between two able-bodied competitors for a title went shorter than this one-legged, ridiculous nonsense.
It's just too much. It's too much, guys. You can lean. I get it. You got to lean into it for WrestleMania. You're leaning too far into it. Let's calm down. Thank you.
And everybody knows that I'm a diehard Becky Lynch fan. Diehard. And you will hear about what a fangirl I am when we talk about our SmackDown attendance. I love Becky Lynch. I'm obsessive. But
it's true. He really is, though. You don't see this guy off camera. This guy off camera is everything is Becky Lynch.
I kind of like Becky Lynch.
He really does.
So since I like her just a little bit, I tend to be give a favorable view to what they do with her because I could pretty much watch her do anything and be entertained. And I really do think her and Charlotte did the best they could with the stipulations that they had to work with here. And I thought their character acting was good. It's just that they couldn't do anything physically. There was nothing they could do. So they made the best of it. And, I like some of the character stuff they did, but 8.5 minutes of this when they can't do anything physically.
Painful.
They couldn't do anything on their feet, and they were
It didn't
in there
look
for
painful.
8.5
It
minutes.
was painful.
Yeah,
it hurt my brain.
This was really bad, and it's really, really continuing the spiral of this whole story. Yep. This was the hottest story in the industry the night after Becky won the Royal Rumble and challenged Ronda, and the whole crowd was going crazy. It was the hottest story in the industry. Everyone thought, holy crap, this is your first ever women's main event at WrestleMania. It was the hottest story they had going. Yeah. And it's just been a complete spiral. It's been in a tailspin for weeks and weeks now. And this was just the latest.
And I'm not caught up on this week's episode, so I don't know if they recovered. But for me, it's just so flat and so dry right now. I have just zero excitement for their whole matchup. Where it should be the matchup of the show, you would think.
Yeah.
With all the hype that Becky Lynch has had this whole year. With what they got in Ronda, like this should be a huge match, but it's just not because all the air has been taken out.
They took the air out of everything it's just, in a way that's unbelievable.
They started it way too early and just didn't have a good plan going forward for it, and it's just fallen apart. The entire way.
This is always the problem with WWE is that they do not do long form storytelling well at all. No. And they started this story with months ahead of them, and then they had to come up with a long term story, and it's gotten worse and worse.
Yeah.
I think Kofi's now being advantaged by the fact that he just kind of sprang onto the scene with less than 2 months to go, and
not
that
only Kofi,
helps
WrestleMania in general.
Now that they don't have all this time to kill, they can keep the story a little more fresh. Whereas this one is it's beaten into the ground.
Yep.
I can't believe it, considering I think Becky Charlotte was the best feud in WWE of 2018. I think they had some of the best matches of 2018. I think Becky's turn into the Man is one of the catalyzing moments in modern wrestling, and I'm dumbstruck by the fact that they've taken all of the steam out of this story.
Yeah, it's been painful for sure. And then we had another Money Elias appearance where he is savage in his insults against Becky Lynch, and then
how dare you?
Fuck Lacey Evans. She has to appear again, and I hate it.
She got her pay-per-view paycheck.
I hate it. Stop paying this woman unless she wrestles. Okay?
She's got kids, sir.
Well, she
needs those pay-per-view paychecks.
She can go work at McDonald's. I don't give a fuck. I need some French fries.
Don't worry, you won't be impressed when she wrestles either.
Very disappointing. And then we had a great RKO out of nowhere, followed up by an AJ Styles phenomenal forearm out of nowhere.
That one doesn't quite roll off the tongue the same way.
Yeah, it was a little hard to get that one out, but it was fun nonetheless.
It was cool. Nice to see RKO hoisted by his own petard, as old people say.
And then the final main event match, we had the Shield reunited versus Corbin, Lashley, and McIntyre.
Every villain is lemons, as they're known.
Yes, but this was an awesome match. It was just awesome,
fantastic.
It was everything about it was great.
Quintessential Shield.
It was clear that there was some passion in the air because they were dropping F-bombs constantly.
The emotions were running
F-bombs
very high.
Constantly.
Very high emotions.
And it was just an outstanding send-off for the Shield, assuming this is the last significant Shield appearance we get.
I think it is.
And I want to give the WWE some respect there. They gave Baron some respect throughout the match. Yeah. Baron was going on a tear.
He went on a little tear.
And normally he's just kind of like the guy you give a noogie and like, oh, you're so villainous. Look how mean you are.
He was,
you little Baron.
He was not the cowardly heel this time.
No,
he did some fighting.
He did some awesome fighting, and I really enjoyed it. But of course, as you said pre-show, he had to eat all the shit in the end.
Yes, of course. He's just the most satisfying guy to get beat up, so he has to be the guy at the end.
It's really true. But yeah, outstanding send-off for the Shield. Really fucking loved it.
Really fun spots. They went all over the arena. They went over to the announce desk. They went over to the pre-show panel area, and Seth did a crazy corkscrew spot onto the whole crowd of folks and took everybody out. Just quintessential Shield chaos. I mean, if you've watched the Shield before, you know this is how they operate when they're at their best. It was a perfect way to send them off. The emotions, like you said, running super high. You could hear at one point before they set up for the triple power bomb, the Shield bomb as it's called, that you could hear Seth Rollins very audibly say one last motherfucking time.
Yeah.
And you knew
F-bombs everywhere.
And for me, that was the moment I knew that Dean Ambrose is really leaving, because I've heard enough Seth promos to know when he's acting an emotion and know when he's feeling an emotion, and he was feeling that emotion in that moment. And to me, that is the indicator that Dean Ambrose will be leaving after WrestleMania, and that this really was the last time we'll see the Shield together, at least for the foreseeable future. So you really felt the palpable emotion in the room. Love the Shield. So great to see the Hounds of Justice riding one more time.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. And just a shout out to my wonderful girlfriend. She sent me the sweetest, most amazing and awesome Snapchat of all time, which I will put on our YouTube channel. If you want to see it, go ahead and take a look.
She's a keeper.
She's
awesome.
a
keeper.
Yeah, I'm marrying that woman.
Put a ring on it.
She doesn't have a choice.
That's the spirit.
Love you, Cindy. All right. So that ended the pay-per-view. Really loved it. For me, there's really the downsides for me were just, the whole kind of Mandy Rose getting sabotaged thing at the end of that match, kind of stealing the air out of Asuka's victory. And then the whole Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair thing going way, way too long. And just ruining the entire pacing of the show. Mm-hmm. Ironic for a show called Fastlane, but it really did ruin the pacing of the show.
That match was an enormous speed bump in Fastlane.
It's like they went into a pit stop and just never came back out. Yeah. They just took lunch, went and got some KFC, sat around, smoked a cigarette or two, and then they kind of rolled on out a little slowly.
They were railroad spikes in the fast lane.
And then the Shield finally took us to the finish line, in glorious fashion. But
captured that energy beautifully.
Really, I had no complaints. There were some phenomenal matches. I'm tempted to push this rating even higher, but the Becky thing it killed the show so much for me. And so I gave it an 8 out of 10. Still really great score for what is the smallest pay-per-view in the WWE.
Yeah. And
really loved it.
They did it again. I mean, Elimination Chamber was another minor pay-per-view I wasn't expecting, and it ended up becoming one of my favorites in the past year.
Yeah.
And I agree with your sentiments. It was a bad night for the women. I mean, I'm willing to say that overall. It was a bad night for the WWE women. I thought that Asuka and Mandy Rose was the best that the women did, and even that wasn't great. Mm-hmm. The tag match was really bad, and the Becky Charlotte match was even more bad. It was just a bad night for the women overall, which is, I'm a big women's wrestling mark, as you know, but this was not a good night for them. And honestly,
that hasn't been the case. Usually it's the men's side that's been pretty weak.
Right, so, I guess maybe the women were due for an off night, and they certainly had one.
Yep.
But overall, the in-ring product of this pay-per-view was so good. I mean, there were times where I felt like I was watching a takeover. It was that good. I mean, having the Raw tag match followed by the U.S. title match during that stretch of time was the hottest part of the show for me, and that's when I really felt like I was watching a takeover there. I also gave it an 8.0, and again, those 2 points are really just the women had a bad night.
Yep.
Really a couple of match of the year candidates.
Yeah,
out of this
absolutely.
Pay-per-view, so
loved it.
And I'm willing to say
loved
that
it.
in March.
Yep. So next up, we got Monday Night Raw. First up, we got our little kind of last Shield appearance where they kind of say goodbye, kind of. And then we have our whole Seth Rollins versus Paul Heyman promo thing going on, where Seth Rollins is viciously ambushed by Shelton Benjamin, and he is basically German suplex to death, and then Seth Rollins gets the pin.
Ain't
eventually.
No stopping me now.
Now, again, filthy casual here. I didn't know who the fuck Shelton Benjamin was, and I also didn't know why the fuck he was doing any of this. Is there a reason why he hates Seth Rollins, or why he would help Paul Heyman?
He would help Brock Lesnar because him and Brock have a history going back to the early or actually I think they were together in college, so I think they have some ties in their amateur wrestling days from college, and they were buddies in Brock Lesnar's first run in WWE in the early 2000s, so they are really good friends. They've done training together and stuff like that, which Paul Heyman had referenced a little bit during that match.
Gotcha.
So they do have ties, but yeah, Shelton Benjamin's a guy that really isn't on TV hardly ever. I think he had one match, a mid-card match, like 4 months ago, and that was really the only time I've seen him since I started watching again. It did feel extremely random, and I'm not sure what it added to their story, so that's the complaint that I have about it. But I will say on the positive side that I think I watched Shelton Benjamin in the early to mid 2000s when he was first kind of coming up, and he is a very talented athlete. Another guy that was, keep talking about black wrestlers that have been overlooked. He is certainly one of them because he's enormously talented, and he's been,
at least for me, completely.
The fact that you don't even know who he is for a guy that's that talented and has been around as long as he had. So I was happy to see him wrestle for that reason, and I thought it was a pretty good match. Especially because he's 43 now, I think.
Yeah.
So he's
I was
got a ton
entertained.
of
I just didn't know
athleticism.
who the fuck he was or why I should care.
Very random, very random. That was my complaint about it too. And I don't know that it added anything to the story, but I was just happy to see the guy wrestle on TV.
My 2 notes for this were fuck match commercials, because again, match commercials, WWE, calm down, please. It's very annoying. I can't stand it. Put the commercials somewhere else, anywhere else. Put it during Lacey Evans' little appearance.
We no hope for that one, bro.
Oh my god,
it's the business model, man.
That's
how they get you.
They're going to Fox now, right?
SmackDown will be going to Fox,
but Raw is still
will stay in USA.
Damn. Hate these fucking commercials. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had. I hate seeing German suplexes repeatedly because Kurt Angle ruins them for me. Well, and every time anybody does a German suplex, all I see is Kurt Angle's neck, and it makes me very, very uncomfortable.
Not a fan of Suplex City over here. Might have to shield your eyes during Lesnar Rollins.
We'll see.
Because I think you might need more than both hands to count how many German suplexes Rollins is going to get at WrestleMania when he goes to Suplex City.
Yeah. For some reason, it doesn't bother me with Brock. I think it's just because I imagine he's invulnerable.
Yeah.
Because he's just a monster.
I mean, there is the fact that his lats are so enormous that his neck doesn't really touch the ground on those anyway. Yeah. Plus, I was looking at a video the other day from his first WWE run where he did a shooting star press off the top rope and landed directly on his head. He was 300 pounds at the time, so he was even bigger than he is now. He did a shooting star press, landed directly on his head, was stunned for a minute. He looked like he should have been dead. I think a normal person would have been dead. But because he's a fucking freak of nature, he was not only not dead, but he immediately just transitioned into the pinning combination he was supposed to do. Jeez. So after I saw that, I'm just like, the guy doesn't die. So he just can't die.
Yep.
He is Thanos.
Real life. Not character. He just can't die. He physically can't die.
He's Thanos in a WWE ring. So if you trust Thanos' neck, I guess you trust Brock Lesnar. So I guess you don't have to worry.
Yeah, I'd say so. So yeah, that was that. I really enjoyed Paul Heyman on the commentary.
As Pat McAfee calls him, the maestro on the mic.
Speaking of Pat McAfee, let's bring him to the main shows, please.
Oh my goodness, I forgot. I just need to tell you this.
Uh-oh.
This guy will be popping his NXT TakeOver cherry in a couple of weeks here, and I forgot to tell him that Pat McAfee's primary job is as a pre-show panelist for every NXT TakeOver.
Yes!
So you will get a full hour of Pat McAfee, sir.
Let's go, Cuzzo! For the brand. I love
That's
Pat
one
McAfee.
Pre-show you're not going to miss.
I love Pat McAfee. I love Pat McAfee. Next up, we had a Bobby Lashley versus Finn Balor title match for the Intercontinental. Yeah, it's too many. For the Intercontinental Championship. Again, I wrote fuck commercials because we had plenty of commercials during this, and I'm a huge Finn Balor fanboy, and I like admiring Bobby Lashley's bubble muscles. So I was very disappointed. The match was going pretty predictably. We had some nice back and forth. Bobby Lashley putting on a pretty good show. Finn Balor putting on a pretty good show. And then we had Lio Rush run in and kind of save Bobby Lashley from a potential coup de grace.
Ringing the bell. That was one I haven't seen.
Yeah. And then,
for better or worse.
Doesn't sound like you're too enthused. And then we had the final victory going to Bobby Lashley due to the Lio Rush interruption, which I was surprised by. I thought we were kind of coasting into this, Bobby Lashley just won't forgive Lio Rush, or Lio Rush is finally breaking off a bit because he's been punished by Bobby Lashley too many times. But then he ran out and he was just Bobby Lashley's bitch again. And of course, the belt going back to Bobby Lashley, I wasn't a big fan of either. So that's what it is. So
yeah, so Finn's reign as Intercontinental Champion was totally pointless, which is my main takeaway from this segment.
Yep.
I really don't like the ringing of the bell distraction. I understand they're trying to get creative and do things that are new, but for me, ringing the bell should be an automatic no contest, and they should restart the match because This would be like, you don't snap the ball on the football field if the referee is currently blowing his whistle, and you don't continue wrestling a match if the bell is ringing.
Yeah.
So they should have ended the match and started again. So I thought it was a stupid way to
But
distract.
controversy, Dan, controversy.
It was Rams Saints level of stupid. Elias would like that.
I'm sure.
I mean, as far as Leo Rush, I mean, I can see what they're going with for his character is trying to kind of win Lashley's affection back by proving his usefulness after costing Lashley a couple times. Now he's trying to prove his usefulness to him again. So I guess that was moving in that direction. But yeah, I'm just really bummed that Finn Balor waited 2 years to have a belt, and they did absolutely nothing with his reign. He had no opponents except Lashley and Leo Rush.
I don't understand.
And they took it right back off him. So they're just hot potatoing that belt now.
I mean, they give him the spotlight plenty, which is, probably what they should do as a guy that's been with the brand for so long and been doing professional wrestling for so long.
I mean, he's one of the world's
And
great legends.
Yep. But they just won't let him have a belt.
Yeah.
They won't let him enjoy a belt reign. Ever.
I don't get it.
And like the Universal Championship was kind of out of the control because he got injured. But I mean, what's he gotten since then?
Yeah, how long do you have to punish a guy for getting hurt by accident once? Because that's what frustrates me about it is I understand he got hurt. He was out for a while. You moved on. I understand Roman and Brock have been your guys, which is probably the main problem. But even so, I mean, at some point, you got to let it go. He got hurt. Sorry. Yeah. He's been wrestling for you constantly 300 days a year since then and hasn't gotten hurt and is one of the most over guys in the company and is one of the most popular wrestlers on planet Earth. So maybe giving him a decent title reign, and then they finally give him this consolation prize belt, and they make it the most inconsequential reign in recent memory.
Yeah.
So
it was very disappointing.
Very disrespectful to
extremely.
Finn Balor, and I'm not happy with that.
I didn't like the way it happened either.
But hopefully he gets, hopefully they're just setting up for him to get something at WrestleMania. So I hope he has a Mania moment.
Hopefully. Next up, we had a Ronda Rousey appearance where she did a little promo. Normally this didn't bother me. It bothered Dan more, but this time it really kind of irked me because she went a little too far. She was breaking kayfabe during this promo. Now, that being said, the kayfabe breaking, the excessive kayfabe breaking was annoying me, but otherwise it was probably the best promo she's put on, where she's playing the bad character finally, which is what I think she should have been doing this entire time and consistently doing. And she didn't mess up any lines or anything. She was nailing it.
Her delivery was on point.
So I really enjoyed that. And then we had Brooke come out to defend the WWE.
Yes.
And it's honor. And then Ronda just kills her and a ref.
Lord help you, Dana.
She murdered Dana Brooke.
Dana Brooke is dead.
She's no longer with us.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
I mean, the kayfabe breaking, I didn't like it, but I think maybe I was a little jaded to it already because of some of the things that she's done on Twitter, where she's gone much further in kayfabe breaking and basically just openly saying wrestling is fake, which is ridiculous for a wrestler to do in the context of promoting a wrestling match.
Yeah.
That's basically just Daniel Craig turning to the screen during James Bond and saying, "These are just blanks, you idiots. All right, let's go back to the movie, I guess." Like, it's that stupid to me.
Yeah, it really is.
And actually, I have that written down. That'll be one of our big topics, is where are the lines with breaking kayfabe, because obviously there's some extent to which it's fine. But yeah, I like the promo. I think one of the main reasons I like the promo is because it kind of made the story more about what I originally wanted it to be about. And what I originally wanted it to be about was Ronda is the crossover star from another sport who's coming to the WWE, completely dominated, just torn through people that have been giving their blood, sweat, and tears to the WWE, to the wrestling industry specifically, their whole lives, that have no fallback options, that have no other jobs, that have no other fame. This is their lives, and she's kind of been taking all of that away from them.
Yep.
And then adding in this new twist where she's disrespecting the wrestling industry itself. I like that because that plays on that dynamic to me. And then kind of the man, Becky Lynch, is going to be the homegrown hero that has been wrestling since she was 15 years old. Mm-hmm. That's going to kind of come in and defend the honor of the industry in some way. So that dynamic is always what I wanted. So this kind of moved the ball in that direction. So for that reason, I liked it more. And I was kind of more forgiving of the kayfabe breaking. And I also, it was a little subtler. It was just, Carney con artists, that was probably the worst of it. And even that, it could be interpreted. Maybe maybe there were some people in the audience that wouldn't have picked up on exactly what she meant by that. And the main line I really liked from this promo is when she said, "I was going to desecrate your holy place."
Yep,
that
was,
I really
that
liked.
was a
that
should be a T-shirt.
That's exactly what I'm going for.
That's a T-shirt.
Yeah,
make it a T-shirt.
That's exactly what I want Ronda to go for.
Desecrate
That's what
your
I
holy
want.
place.
That's what I want her to sound like. She's this business is a sacred space for the wrestlers that give their lives to that business, and she is in here to desecrate it. And what are you going to do about it? And that's exactly the.
What
story.
are you gonna do?
That's the story I want told. So
Yep.
for me, between that and the fact that it was the best delivered promo of her career, I think it was the best Ronda Rousey promo there's been.
Yeah.
So I liked it for that reason.
But outstanding delivery. I just the kayfabe thing was killing me a little bit. And usually that's not the case. Usually I'm like, all right, I can kind of get with it. But this time you were right.
Yeah, see, I hated it with Triple H and you didn't mind it.
Yeah,
and now
I
we're
loved
kind
it
of
with Triple
Now we're
H.
flipping
Yeah.
sides around us, so you know.
See, that's why we're half brothers. Next up.
Oh, I should mention the next up because you didn't get it.
Oh yeah, my
so-
Hulu cut
Their
version.
Hulu cut version. So there was a match between Blackish A and Gablorious. They have a score to settle. It was pretty quick, pretty kind of a bummer. I'm guessing that's why it got cut. It wasn't very long. It wasn't very good. Ultimately, Bobby Roode took the pin from Aleister Black, who hit the Black Mass, as he does so frequently in these multi-man matches, it seems.
Yep.
And then the Revival attacked both teams afterwards, so obviously there is still some unfinished business in the Raw tag title picture there.
Get hyped. Even though I don't like that tag team, I like all of them together.
Yes, absolutely. And just give me the Revival doing anything. I love the Revival.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Next up, we had a big announcement from Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss is hosting WrestleMania.
The goddess. The pride of Columbus, Ohio, from whence we are recording this right now.
Nailed it. But yeah, Alexa Bliss is going to be hosting WrestleMania.
Fantastic.
Outstanding.
Fantastic. I love Alexa Bliss. I am probably in a small minority among diehard fans in that way. She is usually someone that appeals to casual fans more than diehard fans because of the fact that she is considered, let's say, less than stellar in the ring, which is a criticism I generally agree with. However,
she's great on the mic.
yes, and this is what I think people don't give her enough credit for, is she might be the best person in the company on the mic. She might be the best person in the company on the mic. And so, you know, that's a skill that is sorely lacking on this current roster, especially the main roster. So that is something that she brings to the table that is very significant and substantial. She gets very good crowd reactions even now. She hasn't done anything since last summer at all of consequence, and still she gets great crowd reactions. She got a big pop for this. She gets a cheer when she's sarcastically asking for one as a heel because she's so over with audiences. So the crowds love her. She's fantastic on the mic. Obviously, she's very nice to look at. All of that combines for the perfect WrestleMania host.
Yep.
And I would like to see her wrestle soon. It's getting a little alarming to me that she hasn't been wrestling more, but this is a good role for her in the meantime until they find a story to put her in.
Now, this made me very happy for two reasons. A, I like Alexa Bliss. It fits perfectly. Second reason is because I was growing concerned throughout this show that they were going to make the SNL guys host it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, fuck, please
no.
don't. Please don't. I beg you, don't make the SNL guys host it. Like, they're fine. I don't want them hosting my wrestling program.
Whenever they have an outside celebrity host WrestleMania,
it's always awkward.
So awkward.
It's always
awkward.
awkward.
So bad.
Yeah.
Even Maria Menounos did the first ever Women's Royal Rumble where she kind of did the intro and stuff, and she was just getting booed, and she was so uncomfortable. And that's how it always is because you're a freaking outsider, and you don't do this all the time.
Didn't they have Kim Kardashian host
there's
once?
a certain... Yeah, they did.
Oh, my God.
There's a certain narrative voice. You know how there's a narrative voice in certain contexts, which you kind of have to get used to storytell in that narrative voice?
Yeah.
That's the problem. You can take the most talented Hollywood celebrity you want. If you put them into a wrestling event to try to be a wrestling personality, it will not feel organic.
Yeah.
So I just hate that. So thank goodness it's Alexa.
Yep.
She's so good on the mic.
Thumbs up.
She can tell stories.
Thank
Great
you.
choice.
Yes. Moving on, we had a laughably Braun moment where Braun Strowman receives a car as an apology from the SNL guys, and he proceeds to destroy it in Braun fashion. I was a little disappointed he didn't flip it. But But I did enjoy that later.
Well, they've got toys to sell, so.
But I did enjoy that later when Batista shows up. The car door is still in the parking lot with the smashed glass and stuff.
Yeah, and so he tears apart this car, throws its pieces everywhere, and now if you go to WWE Shop, you can find yourself a Braun Strowman with destroyable car toy sets.
You can't buy the Planet's Champion belt, but you can buy the fucking car that Braun Strowman destroyed in a 5-second promo.
That's correct. You can't buy the current WWE Championship.
I want it! I fucking want the Planet's Championship belt! I will give you all of my money!
Ignorant!
Fickle!
So, yeah, you can go ahead and buy that if you want it. And I will just interject again for another Hulu cut segment, which was a match between Natalya and Nia Jax. Not very good. Probably should have been cut.
It was.
Afterwards, it was. It was a good choice, Hulu. Very discerning.
Yep.
Afterwards, there was a brawl involved between. So Tamina was in Nia Jax's corner, of course. There was a brawl after the match between the Samoan Slaughterhouse, as they're called, and the Glamazon and the Queen of Hearts. The Samoan Slaughterhouse ended up walking away from the ring, and then once they got to the back, they were attacked by Boss and Hug from the gorilla position.
Vicious.
Which I haven't seen a brawl in the gorilla position in some time, so I'm okay. I'm intrigued. It seems a little vicious for Boss and Hug. Their characters currently don't seem to suit
is
a
evil
out of
Sasha
nowhere
coming?
post-match ambush.
Evil Sasha is returning.
I don't know.
Give it to me.
I gotta say, Bailey was looking a little more vicious, which seems odd. They can never turn her heel. I forbid it, but it would be nice. You know, it's nice seeing her show an edge a little bit there. I forbid it. So, no, Vince is aware that I have forbidden this, so he knows it's off the table. And,
I wonder what an evil Hug would look like.
I don't know. They would just squeeze the life out of you, I guess. I guess it would just be what Thanos did to Loki at the beginning of Infinity War.
Wow.
Evil
Gruesome. Man, you are a fucking nerd. Yeah. Can't believe you're the one bringing all these Thanos references.
I've been watching Marvel movies all weekend, so it's.
I host the comic book podcast here, sir.
Yes, you're right. I need to stay in my lane.
By the way,
watch Hit the Books podcast.
If you want to hear what Emery Saunders, my co-host on Hit the Books, and I thought of the Captain Marvel movie, go ahead and give that a check. Minor spoiler alert for the show. Emery hates it. Like. He hates it, and I think it's because he's a fucking nerd, but I don't understand why he hates it so fervently.
It's so passionate.
I was like lukewarm on it, but he was destroying
worse
this
than
movie.
the Green Lantern.
I was like, come on now, dude, come on.
I just saw it over the weekend.
How did you feel about it? Just quick review.
I thought it was just generic. I thought it was just a generic Marvel movie.
It's exactly
if
how
I
I
was
felt.
just thinking, if someone just asked me like, how are Marvel movies made? I would just be like, watch this movie. It's the typical origin story. The jokes are fine, not great, and it's fine. It's just normal and fine.
Yep, that's exactly what I thought.
It's just the most cookie cutter Marvel movie there is.
But Emery went on.
It wasn't aggressively bad. It wasn't particularly good.
Yep. Emery went on a long, aggressive.
I don't know
rant.
how anyone can feel that strongly about it in either direction. He was very
Emery was. So be sure to check that out on our Hit the Books channel, on our podcast services, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. They're separate shows, but on YouTube they're on the Hit the Books overall channel. So be sure to check that out if you like.
Back to the wrestling.
Yeah, back to wrestling. So after we have all that, we had the Triple H and Batista promo, where Batista comes in. I was really hyped for this because, I really liked the previous promo that they had and the whole setup with the vicious attack on the goat, and I enjoyed all of that.
Yeah.
But this promo was so awkward.
It was strange.
And it like the Batista character couldn't figure out whether he wanted to be the aggressive, give me what I want, or if he wanted to be, Daddy, give me what I want. Give it to me. Give me what I want. And Batista was just spitting and drooling all over the place.
So much spit.
It was way more than he needed.
So much saliva.
Oh my god, dude! It was like
a
waterfall. It was a waterfall of saliva dripping down his chin and just hanging hanging in HD, glorious HD.
Like one of George Lucas's monsters from the original Star Wars, just like spitting stuff with, their practical effects.
Yeah.
Like, it did not look human.
And then
strange.
And Triple H did his part fine, but it didn't make any sense. And in the end, he's just like, "Fine, we'll wrestle at WrestleMania." I'm like, and then Batista's like, "Oh, thanks, Papa H.
Yeah, I mean,
thank you." And then he turns around and wipes the spit off his face, and he's done.
I mean, it seemed like neither of them knew what the hell the other one was saying. It was like Batista was challenging Triple H to a match, and Triple H was saying no because I want to fight you. Well, that's what I'm asking for. And then he was still saying no. And then in a very internet memeable moment, Batista at one point towards the end of the promo just started shouting repeatedly, "Give me what I want! Give me what I want! Give me what I want!"
With spit flying
it was just
everywhere.
So weird.
Oh, it was so awkward. It was so awkward.
I like Batista. I remember being a teenager during probably 2005, 2006 when the two top guys in the company were John Cena and Batista. John Cena was the guy on Raw and Batista was the guy on SmackDown, and there was always kind of this rivalry, and they rarely crossed paths, and I was always on Team Batista, mainly because I didn't like Cena, but I liked Batista. And so, I'm happy to see him get his retirement match and everything, but two 50-year-old guys just like, give me what I want, and challenging each other to a brawl awkwardly in a really stilted promo. It was just, it did not land with me.
It went from being a super hype, awesome promo for me to being just a disaster, just a train wreck.
It did not land. But they will be having a no-holds-barred match at WrestleMania, so that was the productive thing we got out of it.
That'll be fun, hopefully.
Yeah, if they don't both
Fingers
tear
crossed.
their quads about 2 minutes in.
Damn.
It's going to happen.
Old man shaming over
We're
here.
50 years old.
Speaking of old men, we had Kurt Angle come out to do his last hometown match against Apollo Crews, which was pretty awesome. It was just a nice moment. Now, I am on record saying I hate it every time I have to watch Kurt Angle wrestle, and this is still true. Because he always does his stupid German suplexes on his fucking neck, and it drives me crazy because his neck is so swollen and disgusting and just ruined. I don't understand how that guy breathes. How does he breathe air through that tube? Like, there's just, it's so gross. And, I love Kurt Angle as a human being, as a person who's contributed to wrestling. As his former character, the real champion, I loved all of it and enjoyed all of it for what it was supposed to be. But I'm so ready for him to retire.
Yeah.
I am so ready. I would love it if he stayed on as, like an organizational character like he has been in the past. But I really don't want to see him wrestle anymore. For his health, not because of him, just his health. I can't stand seeing him wrestle.
Yeah, but it's also him for me. I just can't. He's done. He's really, really done. Yeah. He's really done physically. He is gassed. He does not have anything left in the tank. Yeah. This is getting cringeworthy, and they're putting him against really good wrestlers to try to let them carry the load, like Apollo Crews, who's super athletic and super fun to watch.
Yep. Speaking of which, I put my notes. Apollo Crews needs more showtime because he's great.
Super talented.
He's great.
He's kind of like a powerhouse Ricochet in the sense that he always does something physically that shocks you when you see him. So he makes the eyes pop.
Yep.
And so and I know him and Angle have a history and a close relationship. So, Angle's on his farewell tour. He's one of the all-time greats. I'm not saying he shouldn't get these matches because he absolutely should get whatever matches he wants before he goes. And we all just have to deal with it and smile and cheer because he deserves it. He cannot wrestle anymore, but the fact that he destroyed his body, entertaining everybody for so long, and is one of the all-time greats, you have to give him the respect and just smile and take it. But I am definitely looking forward to not seeing any more of his matches because he is absolutely done.
He's destroyed.
He is way more done. Yeah. He's more done than The Undertaker, and that's saying something at this point. Yeah.
And
so
we got the announcement that he's going to have his final farewell match at WrestleMania, and this was just his little stint to give his hometown something to cheer for.
We'll find out who it is. Hopefully no one the audience completely hates or anything.
I really want to put something out there to the fans. I get it. We have a very limited influence.
Vince, but if you're listening.
If anybody's listening, and I might be the only one who thinks this, feel free to disagree. But I think we should change the "you suck" chants to something else just for this one match. Just as a show of respect. Just as like, I know it's tradition and everybody loves to do it. But just as like a last like one-time thing, be like, "You rock" or something like that, just to show the
thank you.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. So whatever works. Like
never gonna happen.
I would like.
I agree, but never gonna happen.
I would like to see it happen.
Yeah, never
please,
gonna happen.
fans, don't be fucking savages out there.
Never gonna happen.
This is a man's farewell.
Yeah.
Just give him something nice to go off on.
Nah, he's now been encouraging it to the point that it's just totally embraced now, and unfortunately, it's one of those things.
Just one time.
It's one of those things like
one time.
It's one of those things like what, where it's never going away. It's never gonna die.
The what thing kind of
every
sucks.
time you hear it.
Let's face it.
What is the worst thing that
What
ever
thing-
happened in wrestling?
It
I
kinda
love Stone Cold Steve Austin, and when he did it, it was fine. It is the worst fucking thing in wrestling fandom today, and it's
always,
never going to die.
It always happens at the most inappropriate time. Like it doesn't make sense where
like
it's
when
happening.
someone who is speaking a second language is speaking, then it's what time? You fucking idiots! Like it's just I hate what. But I mean, Angle final hometown match too. This was in Pittsburgh.
Come on, guys. Come on. I know you're listening out there. Just give him a little love. Just a little tiny bit
Never
of love.
I agree.
You can do the "you suck" at the end.
Yeah.
But when he's
but-
heading out of the mat, give him a little love. Just a little tiny.
I agree, but total pipe dream. They are going to give him love, though. He's going to get cheered. He's going to get the "you suck" when those two notes hit. This was his final match in his hometown of Pittsburgh, though, so that is notable. The crowd received him very, very well. He got a big ovation. So.
And I hate Pittsburgh, but they were nice. There was way too many Steelers jerseys. I couldn't stand it.
Gross.
Who wears a jersey to a wrestling show? Stop doing it.
Yeah.
If
you're one of those guys, don't be those guys.
We went to SmackDown in Dayton, Ohio, and there was Bengals jerseys all over the crowd. And I'm a huge Bengals fan, and I was like, fuck off.
Yeah.
All right? We don't need to see your Bengals jersey.
Maybe if you're in the building where the team plays, maybe.
We weren't. We were in Dayton.
Like
we were in fucking Dayton.
The people that wore Penguins jerseys to this, okay. You're in the Penguins building, okay. But Steelers?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Fuck off. Next up. Making sure I didn't miss anything. We're good. Okay, so next up we had Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre, where Roman Reigns was ambushed by McIntyre at the beginning of the match. And then, once again, my biggest complaint with McIntyre, he could be the best villain on the entire show, but he always does this thing where he crouches into a little ball, and he always has to be down on all fours and making himself tiny. He's a huge hulk of a man who is like just carved out of marble.
Yeah.
Why do you make yourself tiny?
Yeah.
It drives me crazy.
Why does he hide his muscles that are very intimidating?
Yes.
And impressive.
Yes.
Why?
But they basically have it so that McIntyre gives Roman Reigns a concussion. We have Seth Rollins
a
coming.
head injury of some kind, not officially confirmed as a concussion.
Oh, yes.
For liability
But
reasons.
highly suggested it's a concussion. And then Seth Rollins comes out and tells him, hey, it's okay not to wrestle, blah, blah, blah. Come on. And it seems like it's kayfabe. It's probably kayfabe, but I don't know if you've heard any
It was
news
some
on
good
it.
acting, so it was kind of hard to tell.
It was hard to tell. I was legitimately wondering, especially when
Yeah.
Seth Rollins came out and was like, "It's okay, man. Let's go inside."
Yeah,
That's
it
what
really-
made me suspicious. Like, oh, maybe
there was some good acting.
maybe there
all
is
around
something
there.
up. Like
Yeah.
maybe he's sick from his chemo, like he hasn't fully recovered, and the nausea is like all coming down.
Yeah, I didn't notice. Did you see the doctor come out, because he's always the guy with the gloves on?
Yeah, he did come
He
out.
did come out.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were really pushing it hard. If it was,
I
think it was storyline though,
Yeah.
because it tied into the main event that they made later. So I think.
But
it
yeah,
was.
they had the guy with the gloves out, shine the light in his eyes and stuff. So
that's when they're really pushing it.
It
When they
really
pull the doctor out.
It really felt like
Usually
it was
that's how
real.
you can tell that something is real, is when the
Yeah.
doctor comes out. So they were really selling it hard.
So I mean, it was a cool, brutal moment,
Yeah.
to be honest. I was like, damn, McIntyre got a nice push right there.
Yeah, this was McIntyre's. This is one of his biggest heel pushes overall the whole night.
And he couldn't stop
he's ever
crouching.
had.
He just couldn't
Of
stop.
course.
He
Always got to.
Stop being tiny. You're huge. Be huge.
He's like a little puffer fish. He's just waiting for you to get close enough.
Little Scottish psychopathic pufferfish. But basically, this leads to the kind of main event storyline where Ambrose is pissed and wants his revenge and demands to have his match against McIntyre to get his revenge. And falls count anywhere, and they go into it. So
Yeah.
basically
They go anywhere.
Yeah. And
They go literally anywhere.
I don't think they were in the ring for more than like 5 seconds.
No, they were gone.
They were basically
They
in,
went up
in the
the
crowd
stairs,
the entire
they went
time.
into the second level. They went into the concession area. Then
Yeah.
they came back around, went over to the audio, where the audio equipment is stored.
Yeah.
Then they ended on the announce desk. So they went everywhere.
Yeah. So I have a few notes for this. A, he continues to make himself tiny, McIntyre. B, fuck commercials during matches because, again, several commercial breaks during a main event that was possibly pretty tits, but who knows?
Yeah. The nice thing I will say in their defense was that they did show the main spot that happened during the commercials when they came back from commercial. They showed the spot
which helps,
going over
but
the popcorn
still, I'd rather
table
see
and stuff,
it
which I
while
like.
it's happening.
Yeah, that's true.
know?
Absolutely. But at least they gave us that, so we didn't miss that spot completely.
And then once again, stop fucking crouching. McIntyre, I love you. Let me love you. Stop crouching. But yeah, I think you disagree with me on this one, but
yeah.
Up until the end, I thought this was brutally boring because it was taking them so long to like stumble up the steps and pretend to be injured, but not fall on the fans and hurt the fans. You know, everything had to be very careful and everything felt very restrained.
Yeah, that's true.
Even when they put it,
you'd tell it wasn't an indie show because if it was an indie show, they would have gone into the fans.
And even when they were like on the like set equipment and he's, McIntyre's rolling Ambrose on the set equipment, it felt very restrained, very slow. I'm like, well, it's making it very difficult for me to suspend my disbelief and think that, oh yeah, that must have hurt because he's like barely moving. And for me, I was having trouble enjoying it. The end was great.
Yeah,
I loved when they were on the table and he stabbed him in the face with the pencil and he put him on the rail and then did his kick right through that rail while he's locked into the rail and the whole rail system comes off and detaches with him in it.
That's awesome.
That was great. I loved all of that. But the majority of the match for me was just such a slog and I was bored out of my mind up until the end. And it kind of took the air out of the ending for me because I was so bored and ready for the show to end at that point that I didn't care anymore. And again, it might be just me, but I really didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I do disagree. I think it was a banger. I just thought it was one of the best matches I've seen on Raw TV in some time. I did notice the restraint. I mean, you could tell it wasn't an indie show. In an indie show, if they need to throw a guy into the fans and risk injuring one of them, they'll do it. No one's going to mistake this match for ECW or anything like that.
Yeah.
But for having to work within the confines of this massive publicly traded corporation they work for and being on a TV taping rather than a pay-per-view or anything like that, it was always going to be restrained. But I think that working within those rules, I think they told a really good story, and that's really the main thing to me. More than doing the coolest moves, more than going the most hardcore, more than being the most physical. If you're telling a really, really good story, then I can overcome most physical limitations. So for me, I thought the story that they were telling was just so gripping.
I enjoyed the story.
I was
agree
immersed
there.
in the story. Yeah. I was immersed in this crazy, monstrous, heartless, cold, huge, terrifying guy that just wants to commit violence and has the sadistic streak going against the lunatic fringe, who, as for all his faults and all his craziness and all the bad things he's done, is ultimately a really loyal friend that cares very much about his brothers and was out there defending them and was fighting with emotion and heart, and you felt it for him when he was getting beat down, and you felt wanting him to sock McIntyre whenever he got the upper hand and everything
absolutely.
like that. So the emotion was high, and then certainly at the end, with the stabbing in the face with the pencil, was just so brutal. I mean, that was like almost Randy Orton brutal. It was one of the most brutal spots I've seen on TV in some time. And I think what really made that moment for me was Renee Young screaming like in terror in a way that felt real.
Sold it amazingly.
It felt real.
She sold it really
That is
well.
what it sounds like when a wife is watching her husband get physically harmed, which is what it was supposed to sound like, and it's exactly what it sounded like. So that really made the moment
did
for
a
me.
great job.
I still hear her scream in my head a couple weeks later because it was that it was blood curdling. It was scary. It was real in that moment. So for that reason, and then just McIntyre, I think it was one of his best heel moments. They've been trying to get heat for him forever, and the fans just haven't been reacting. They were booing him for this one. They had to go all out, and if he doesn't sustain some heat now, then I just say call it quits on him and his heel turn.
Yeah, stop crouching.
So,
stop crouching.
I thought,
you ruin everything when you crouch.
So I thought it was a really good match, really good story, really good finish. I think that elevated the whole show for me because when I'm grading these shows, they're so long. Well, Raw is so long.
Raw is really
that
long.
Ultimately, I try to
even the cut version is long.
Yeah, and I know they have a lot of time to fill, so I try to give the most leeway. I try to give the most weight to the beginning and the end. What do you open with? What's your main event?
Yep.
And for me this week, the main event was excellent, so that kind of elevated the whole show for me.
Sure. So for me, I totally understand why that elevated it for you and how you may feel that way. But for me, it just wasn't enough. I enjoyed the ending. I enjoyed the storyline around it, but the event itself just bored me to death, and I just couldn't get into it, as much as I wanted to. In the end, I gave this Raw a really bad rating. Again, I didn't see the 2 matches that were cut out there that you got to see on live TV.
Yeah, they wouldn't have added anything.
And they according to you, they weren't good to begin with, so what's the point?
No, they were short and bad.
I literally had a range that was probably almost an hour long between Ronda Rousey, Moment of Bliss, Braun Strowman's promo, Triple H and Batista's promo, where there was no wrestling. None. For that long span of time.
Yeah, you're right.
Because
you skipped 2 matches.
Because they were cut out, and
yeah.
they were shit matches to begin with.
Yeah,
so,
that's
like,
brutal.
For probably an hour of my watching time of the show, I was just bored to tears and just didn't care anymore because I wasn't getting any matches. The promos were, flawed, to say the least.
I was 90% checked out by the time the main event came.
Yeah, and I just didn't care. The Kurt Angle thing was nice, and I love the show that Apollo Crews put on with him. It's good showing to Apollo Crews to go out there for his buddy and just take the hit. Take the pin for his buddy and really put on a good match with him. Really sell everything that Kurt Angle was doing to give him that great send off in Pittsburgh. So all credit to Apollo Crews and Kurt Angle. Mm-hmm. But really, I was just bored out of my mind throughout this entire show. And you know how I feel about Kurt Angle wrestling. I can't, even when I'm enjoying the match, I can't stand watching him wrestle because it hurts me. It physically hurts me because I feel the pain he should be feeling.
Yeah.
It probably does feel. So I had to give it a terrible rating. Really, to me, this personified everything wrong with Raw for me. And there was just barely any actual wrestling. And I gave it a 2 out of 10. It's a really, I wish I could give it something better, but I just didn't feel like it was worth anything better to me. Yeah. I gave it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it a 6.0, and like I said, it was really on the strength of the main event. I liked the Shield send-off at the beginning. I liked seeing Shelton Benjamin wrestle, even if it really didn't make a ton of sense. I liked Ronda's promo. I love Alexa Bliss hosting WrestleMania. Love Alexa Bliss in general. And the main event elevated the show for me, so even though I definitely felt the pain of that middle portion, which was most of the show.
Yeah.
And I was also 90% checked out by the time the main event came, but I thought the main event was such a banger, it really saved the show for me. So 6.0 out of 10. Still a failing grade, but not abysmal.
Yeah. Yeah. You get a D-.
Yes, there you go.
You
Congratulations, Raw.
You nailed it, Raw.
That's a great
That's
week
all
for
you
Raw.
need.
That's a great week for Raw.
Next up, we have SmackDown. Now, this was SmackDown in Dayton. Dan and I were both there live, so we got a little bit of an inside scoop on everything.
Oh, yeah.
Not only were we there in Dayton watching the show live, and 205 Live, because of course it comes at the end, but we also got to see some stuff that wasn't on the television program. We got to watch the television program after to see, how it was different, how it was portrayed to the audience on TV, and how we experienced it live and the differences. So it's kind of a fun time because we get to give you more of a in-depth evaluation of the show. So I expect this to go probably a little longer than usual for the show reviews, but we had a great time. We always go to these live shows. We went to Starrcade. We went to the holiday show here in Columbus. The Starrcade was in Cincinnati, and we're going to another show here in April. At the end of April, we're going to a show in Columbus for another SmackDown. So we love going to these live shows.
They're awesome.
If you haven't been to one, or you have kids or anything that haven't been to one, take them. It's one of the most fun experiences you'll have as a wrestling fan. And
nothing like live wrestling.
One thing I would say, though, is don't get floor seats unless you're really, really close.
Yes.
If you're really close, it's worth it. If you're like
second,
between
third
1
row.
and 5,
Yeah.
we were in 11.
Yeah.
And we also had the disadvantage of being behind the mountain Samoa Joe and his family. So it wasn't as enjoyable. We were in perfect position for our signs to be on the opening shot. That was cool. But other than that, it was It was a little tough.
Yeah, not doing the floor seats again.
Yeah.
Rolled the dice.
Yep.
Came up snake eyes.
The elevated area is definitely the way to go. Just slightly elevated.
Stadium seating. That's what you
be
need.
above the floor seats and you'll be good.
Yes.
But
Unless you're 8 feet tall, in which case you'll have a great time.
Yeah. So feel free to call us out on our ratings and everything if you think we're being too generous or something like that, or maybe too critical. But we were there. We know what happened. We know what was going on behind the scenes. You weren't. Were you there? Fickle! But yeah, check us out on that opening shot. I'll probably screenshot it and put it on here again and again. It's probably on the YouTube thumbnail, so yeah, check it out because, we worked hard.
If Alexa Bliss goes to SmackDown, we're taking Alexa Bliss signs next time. I've decided.
Okay, but if the Planet's Champion is still there, I'm still doing a Fickle sign.
Me.
Oh, I will do it. I will do it. But we had a kind of dark match to open the show where we had the Bullet Club come out versus Sanity. Both groups we haven't really seen in a long time.
I didn't know you guys still worked here. All right.
But we got a really entertaining opening match,
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't televised, that really got the crowd warmed up. And it was, to be fair, it was a great crowd. Like,
they were hot.
Dayton's not a big city. It's a pretty small city. I mean, it's the first time Dan's been there.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the Air Force Museum down there, which is awesome. If you're ever in Dayton, that's the place to go. And it's a free museum.
It's unbelievable.
It's run by the government, so you can literally just walk in and enjoy it and then walk out. Yeah, this crowd was awesome. It was a great crowd. There was great signs. There was great chants. Like even the people that weren't hitting were, getting some. Getting some chants going, getting some things appropriately.
Yeah, I noticed TV really didn't do it justice. The crowd when we were there felt a lot hotter than what it sounded like on TV.
I think it might be because people were too belligerent.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like they were catching us. Like I'm pretty sure there's a part in the very beginning where it's like, "How dare you, Shane?" or something like that. And I am almost 100% certain that was me because I was shouting at Shane going, "How dare you, Shane?
Yes,
you
of
broke
course.
my heart," and blah, blah, blah. And I kept going. I think the crowd was so belligerent that they had to kind of mute us down a little bit for the live program.
Yeah,
because there were some people shouting some pretty, heinous things throughout the
I still love you, Shane!
show.
There were some rabble rousers for sure.
And it definitely sounded like the sound balance came down a little bit on the crowd, and it was not that quiet. It was pretty awesome crowd throughout.
Yeah, it was the best crowd I've been around for a wrestling show.
So after the dark match between the Bullet Club and Sanity, where Bullet Club got the pin, right?
Yeah, Good Brothers got the pin, and got to see Killian Dane go a little bit, which I was super excited about, and I kept trying to get his attention, letting him know that I love him, because he is one of my favorite big men in the company.
Disgusting back
and
hair.
this guy decided to start a Shave Your Back chant, so that was the love that he showed. That was very nice.
I'm not taking the blame for
nice.
that. That was not me.
All you, my friend.
No, that was not me. That was the guy and the grandma behind us.
Oh, okay. It was
going,
that guy.
Shave your back.
Yeah, well, you jumped right
back.
in, all right, without hesitating.
I did jump in. I did participate.
Such disrespect.
his back hair
For
is
the
gross.
brood from Belfast.
His sweaty back hair on that pasty white skin is disgusting.
He's one of the best big men in this company.
Oh, he was great.
Have some respect.
He was great at wrestling.
He is a great.
He was
great
just
performer.
disgusting.
I'm okay with Sanity going away. Just make Killian Dane a single star. I'd be fine with that. Just put him on my TV, maybe with a.
They have the look though. Sanity definitely has the
true.
look of the name.
That's true, and they put on some good stuff in NXT. But Killian Dane specifically stands out for sure.
Yeah, so that was a great match that you didn't see because you didn't go live like we did.
Suckers.
What? Who's the filthy casual now? Next up, we had Shane McMahon addressing his turn during Fastlane. He comes out and has this kind of cool opening bit where he's just like blaming the announcer for the crowd booing him relentlessly, and man, were they booing him! I mean, they were shaking the arena by how much they were booing him and pounding on everything and just giving him hell.
I was giving him everything I got.
And again, I'm pretty sure you can hear me on the audio just berating him. And then they cut it out real quick.
Yeah.
But it's real audible. But basically, he talks about how he's sick of everybody relying on him to boost them. Now, he's no longer working for all these people. He's working for himself. And he, makes fun of The Miz and it makes fun of Mr. Miz.
Yeah, potato face.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
His fat potato face, man.
And overall, as far as heel turns go, it doesn't get much better than
Being
that.
a dick comes a little too effortless to him.
Yeah. Much like his father.
Suspiciously effortless.
Yeah. But it was great. I loved
Good
it.
promo.
It was a good promo.
It was a good start to a night of many promos.
I'm devastated that I don't get to see McMiz together anymore.
He
but
was so
it
into
was
the co-besties.
I really was, though. I really was. I love the whole dynamic. I love the whole father healing storyline.
I told you the second that they got together that one of them was turning on the other for a match at WrestleMania. Did I not?
Dan did. He called it 100%.
The first time they got together, I said, they're wrestling at WrestleMania.
He definitely called it. Next up, we had Aleister Black and Ricochet and the Hardy Boys versus Shinsuke, Rusev, and The Bar. At the show, I was extremely insulted, hence why I'm wearing the Shinsuke Nakamura t-shirt, because he was the only person whose opening they didn't play. The only person. They played everyone else's, but they didn't play Shinsuke's opening. And I was so fucking pissed that during the match I was shouting, "How dare you insult Shinsuke Nakamura!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far he's fallen.
Yeah, I was really disappointed by that. I don't know if he pissed off Vince or what's going on behind the scenes, but clearly he rubbed somebody the wrong way because they are not pushing him anymore.
Yeah, there's been some chatter that he kind of was coasting after his Royal Rumble win last year, that he hasn't been given his best efforts, and so they kind of pushed him a little bit. I wonder about that because I felt like the last match I think he fell short in his feud with AJ Styles, and this is just my theory. I think he fell short in his feud with AJ Styles after winning the Royal Rumble, and I think that they pushed him at that point. They were pushing him very heavily as a main event level guy. There was a lot of hype around his match against AJ Styles at WrestleMania as a result of that Royal Rumble win because they had previously wrestled in Japan and had a big time match there.
Yeah.
And that match at WrestleMania really fell flat, and it was mainly Shinsuke's fault. And because he never took it to that next tier, and he really never did during that whole rivalry, even though they had like 5 matches. He did kind of at the end in the last man standing match, was the last match of that feud, but he never took it to that next gear, and I think that there was a perception that he was kind of coasting, and since then it seems like they've just had it out for him. And it's really disappointing.
I think his heel turn was probably one of the best heel turns we've had.
Yeah.
He's awesome as a heel, and I feel like
the character was made to be a heel.
This whole thing with Rusev, like teaming up with a guy you were just blaming for hurting your wife, like I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate everything about it.
And it really is a huge fall from grace. When I was just watching those takeovers last week, and I watched his debut in NXT, which was a huge deal at the time. It was a huge deal. Literally, when he got to the ring for the first time, the whole crowd drowned him in holy shit chants because they were so amazed that Shinsuke fucking Nakamura, the top guy from New Japan, was here in WWE ring. And he put on a instant classic match against Sami Zayn, and now just to see him getting the jobber's entrance during the commercial break to be part of an 8-man tag match.
It was so disappointing.
After wrestling in a pre-show tag match on the previous pay-per-view, it's just...
I was so bummed.
He's really fallen off. But I do think, in their defense, the reason his entrance got cut was because they were entering during the commercial, and he has the longest freaking entrance. He didn't have the longest entrance.
It was clear after I watched the show that they didn't have the time, that the commercial break was ending.
His entrance is so long.
But that being said, like, why would you have the most fun, interesting entrance of all of them, probably? Just be completely ignored, and like they've been shitting on him for weeks now. It's not like it's an isolated incident. It felt wrong. It didn't feel right. Even if you played it real quickly, just a condensed version, fine.
Yeah.
But like they played the full Bars entrance, they played the full Rusev Day entrance.
Yeah. They could do that thing they do with Boston Hug where Sasha just kind of comes out to her intro for like 10 seconds and then Bayley's music.
Yeah, that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. And they didn't even give him that much respect. And that's I think that's a little more telling. And that's something we got at the live match that you don't see on TV. And it was pretty disappointing in that regard. However, the match itself, everybody involved was awesome. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun from beginning to end, and then we got the surprise at the end when New Day comes out and just wrecks house and beats everybody to hell.
I think that was the biggest pop of the night, as the crowd went absolutely
the crowd went wild. But overall, it was just great. I don't think there was a clear victor because it was just ruined by New Day. But it was a lot of fun to watch.
Across the board DQ.
It was fun on TV when I rewatched it, and it was fun live. Like I really enjoyed it. And as much disrespect as they gave Shinsuke on the entrance, he was great in the ring, and he got a lot of ring time. So
we need to see more of him and Aleister Black, by the way. That's a matchup that needs to happen.
The Black Mass versus the Kinshasa is just fucking awesome. Their kicks, and they keep doing these sequences where they try to undercut each other and do the straight kick and then do the roundhouse kick over the top, and they're ducking and dodging each other.
Those two,
it's fucking awesome.
Those two can have a fun.
They
match.
need to have a singles rivalry.
They do.
That would be fucking amazing.
That would be great.
That's one way you could definitely get Shinsuke's respect back and really push Aleister again.
Yeah, for
sure. This needs to happen. It really does. Next up, we had a excellent Usos promo where they went through the roster talking about all the people they've beaten, and then they reached out and challenged the Hardy Boys. So it seems like we're going to have Usos versus the Hardy Boys at WrestleMania. Tag team match.
Yeah, that could happen, which I am all in favor of. I think that would be one of the greatest tag teams of all time going against the greatest tag team in the world today. So I'd be all in favor of that.
Yep. Now, they haven't had a significant title match with each other, right?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
I don't believe so, no.
But I'm excited for this.
I'm not sure when the last time the Hardys were together was. I think it's been a couple years.
Yeah.
They're always on and off.
Yeah, I'm excited for this primarily because Matt Hardy looks so good.
He does. He's in the best shape of his life.
He looks extremely healthy.
He is cut.
Skin
looks great.
He's
glowing.
He still has a little bit of old man gut to him, but it's muscular.
Yeah.
It's not.
You can see defined abs for the first time ever.
That dude has never looked better. In recent years.
What are you doing, Matt?
I don't know.
Keto?
He's clearly following the Tom Brady.
He was one of the eaters of world. So I want to know what he's the eater of now.
Yeah. He's pliable. That's what he is. But yeah, it's exciting for me to see those two go at it at WrestleMania. And boy, this WrestleMania has a lot of matches.
Yeah,
it's
shaping up. I think they're saying that it's.
Is there really? I feel like there's no surprise left to be.
There's going to be something like 17 matches. When
that's
it's
insane.
And that's an insane card.
That's
insane. We're going to be talking about a 7-hour show. Which, of course, during NFL season, we'll all spend 7 hours watching football without batting an eye. But when it's the biggest wrestling show of the year, oh my God, that is so much time.
That's true. It's very true.
I'm okay with 17
matches. And we're
matches.
paying for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're paying for it, and we're still complaining about how long it is.
I'm okay with 17 matches if I feel like the time isn't wasted. And I do think that this card is shaping up really nice.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it.
So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to. I think, honestly, it's just making the Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey thing even more boring to look at, and trying to get excited because there's the Kofi thing with Daniel Bryan. We got the Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar, which, we're sick of Brock, but hey, it really looks like they're going to have Seth Rollins do something.
It should be a good match.
Which should be good.
It should be a Brock's last several title defenses have been really good matches. So.
We got the Goodwill farewell match for Kurt Angle. We got the Usos versus the Hardy Boys, which is just a tits lineup there. Like there's a lot of great stuff happening at this WrestleMania. Yeah. And I know a lot of people.
Miz and Shane will be a heck of a match.
A lot of people aren't excited for it, but if you look at the overall product and not just isolated on the Becky Lynch hype that's been lost, there's a lot to be had there. Yeah. I think it's going to build up to be a great match. Alexa Bliss hosting, like that alone makes it potentially watchable.
Even the filler stuff is going to be entertaining now.
Yeah.
But I will say, in defense of the women's triple threat, is that regardless of how sour the story has gone, the match itself is still going to be awesome.
It should be.
I mean, we can all bet on that match being awesome.
Yeah. Charlotte Flair is great. Becky Lynch is great. Ronda Rousey is great. It should be.
You don't have to tell a great story to put on a really good match. Yeah. The story has gone south, but the match is almost guaranteed to be awesome. So
fingers crossed.
Even that will be fine once the bell rings.
Yep, absolutely. Next up, we had an awesome promo, and this was even better live. I watched it on TV. It was good, but it was even better live because you could feel it.
Yeah,
you could feel
the tension in the room.
The crowd was just the crowd was owning it.
They were eating it up.
Randy Orton calls out AJ Styles and starts talking shit about how he's just this indie guy and how he's a fraud for saying this is the house that AJ Styles built.
He made a TNA reference, which WWE is very careful about mentioning the existence of TNA.
He dug
said,
deep.
I was wrestling at WrestleMania when you were getting suntans with Dixie Carter, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I think I said that out loud.
He
when
did.
He said it.
He
too.
did.
I'm pretty sure I said,
I can
"Holy
confirm
shit!"
that. Yes.
Did he just mention Dixie Carter?
He wasn't the only one. There were several people going, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. One thing I gotta say about this promo is that they were really banking on the wrestling knowledge of the crowd.
Yeah.
Because they were making some references that only people that really follow this stuff would get, and the
And,
crowd got it.
And I think shout out to Dayton and maybe just Southwest Ohio in general. Apparently, they knew that this was going to be a crowd that worth putting this promo on for.
And they got it.
So,
they got all of the references that were being made.
They hit it hard.
That Dixie Carter one, that got everybody.
Yeah. I mean, we had some guys in front of us in the line there that were wearing the classic Bullet Club outfits.
Yes,
like there were some hardcore fans
there
here.
There were, for sure.
And then they got what they wanted at the very beginning of the show. So I was happy for them.
Styles came back with, you got a knockoff diamond cutter, and you got your job because your daddy got it for you.
Yeah,
and
he's talking about how he had babysitters his entire career.
They were throwing bombs at each other.
Dude,
bombs.
it was savage.
It was so
savage.
good.
And you know what? It's sad for the TV audience because they didn't get to see what we saw at the very, very end of 205 Live. At the very end of 205 Live, we had a dark match between AJ Styles and Randy Orton, where clearly they're getting ready for their feud match and just doing some practice.
Building some chemistry.
But it was still great.
Yeah,
they were still
it was
selling
awesome.
it. And I mean, these were the hardcore fans that stayed for the entirety of 205 Live.
That were still there to the end.
And they were there to, give some props to the fans and really, put on a nice show. And it was a great way to send the show off.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was awesome.
Got to see an RKO in person, which is always fun.
Yep.
And a phenomenal forearm after that.
And of course, your massive erection was there. So,
Randy is a very sculpted man.
But yeah, it was really cool.
And by the way, I need to compliment Randy in the sense that when he gives a shit, he's one of the best in the business.
Yeah,
and
he puts on a great show
from this promo and from the wrestling that he did in the dark match afterward that he cares about this feud.
He's excited.
And when he cares, he is on, and he's one of the best there ever was. And this feud has me super stoked. And this immediately, just from this promo, became one of the matches I most want to see at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Because AJ's one of the all-time greats and one of the greats in the world today. Randy's one of the all-time greats, and when he cares, one of the greats in the world today.
Yeah.
He obviously cares here. These two are going to put on a show. This could be a potential show stealer.
Yeah, he's not exaggerating. This is you're in for a treat if anything we saw is something to judge it by. Mm-hmm. They were spitting hot fire. They were wrestling great at the end there. It's gonna be fun. Next up, we had Asuka versus Sonya Deville. I love Asuka. We're right behind Asuka. Read into that what you will. But yeah, it was a great match, and I love seeing her wrestle Sonya Deville way more than I like seeing her wrestle Mandy Rose. I think Sonya Deville has a way better entrance, is way more intimidating as a character.
Yeah, and she added this little strobe light thing, which I'm not sure if that was on TV, but she got to the ring.
It was on there, but it was...
she did her punch combination with 2 strobe lights, and it was really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome live. On TV, they showed it from the side for some reason, and it didn't have the same effect.
Yeah,
when you see it up front,
face
it looks
to face.
It looks awesome.
It looks awesome.
If they do that,
I think that was the first time I've ever seen that. I think that was.
Yeah.
I think they rolled it out there.
Yeah, if they do it on TV, they need to do it right in front of her because that's where it's awesome. It really sells, and it just looked badass.
It did look badass.
It felt badass. It looked badass. The match was pretty fun.
A little too short for my taste.
It was too short. It was way too short. I think it's because they're still trying to push Mandy Rose, and basically they set it up so Mandy Rose accidentally, in quotes, sabotages Sonya Deville, maybe lashing out at her for her screw up, and the previous match at Fastlane, which I thought sucked because other than that, it was a fun match. It was an awesome match, and I really didn't need Mandy Rose ruining it for me.
Yeah.
So that was disappointing, but Asuka gets the win in the end. I thought the tap was really lame. It wasn't. I don't know. it was like
the Asuka lock, though, wasn't it?
It was like this weird modified one. It wasn't. It wasn't exactly the Asuka
the
lock.
man tapped to one of those.
It just wasn't like Sonya didn't sell it very well, and like Asuka just wasn't in the right position on TV. We could barely see it live.
Yeah, we could barely see it. We
because
couldn't see anything below the waist.
Yeah, anytime they got on the ground, we could barely see anything.
Any mat wrestling, we could not see.
So I had no idea what had happened. I assumed there was some kind of lock, and that was it. But when I watched,
I think it was the Asuka lock.
Yeah, when I watched the show, it was this weird thing I didn't recognize. If it was the Asuka lock, it was a really awkward, weird version of it because it just didn't look right. Something was off. And it just seemed like a kind of crappy ending because I really want them to push Sonya Deville more and having her tap almost immediately to this awkward, poorly illustrated lock. It just I didn't enjoy it, especially because Mandy Rose sabotaged her and then pouted. I don't care about Mandy Rose.
After they made the man tap in 2 seconds to a modified Asuka lock, you could keep your tears to yourself, sir.
I was just,
the man,
but I love Asuka.
It did it to the man.
I love Asuka.
I do love Asuka, and it is quite a spectacle to see her wrestle live, even for 5 minutes.
Dude, she was awesome. She was awesome live.
Her strikes, I mean, they're legendary for how stiff they are, but you can fucking feel it when you're that close.
And she sells them right. There's a nice crack to every single one.
You can feel it. I mean, it is an impact.
There's a reason why people love her.
She's incredible. She's
an awesome wrestler. Next up, we had the Becky Lynch promo where she comes out. Again, this is just getting so old. It really brings everything to a screeching halt every time we have to deal with it. But she did this promo where she talks about how she was playing Ronda Rousey like a fiddle. And then Charlotte, of course, interrupts because that's what Charlotte does now. And it's just getting old. And even though Becky Lynch, her lines were better than they've been before, and she was selling it very well, I just don't give a fuck anymore. I just want this whole thing over with so I can move on with my life and she can move on to a new storyline where she's not crippled half the time. And Charlotte Flair isn't being wasted on these interruptions every 10 seconds and saying basically nothing, what amounts to nothing, and for the sake of a woo. And if
you've seen one promo between these two during the storyline, you saw this one.
I'm done.
Well,
I'm every time that they have a promo from now on, I'm skipping it. Skipping it. I'm just skipping it because it's ruining my experience.
Well, I agree it's very old, but I was just so happy to see the man, obviously. I screamed like a little girl when her music hit. Again, to the point that he had to tell me to simmer down a little bit.
These erections, it's really awkward to deal with in a live crowd.
When the man's music hit, I was concerned about whether she'd be there or not because of the fact that she's in a Raw title feud, which she probably shouldn't be on SmackDown, honestly. I think that's one of the problems with this story is they're stretching it across 2 shows when they should just be keeping it on Raw. Yeah. But I was just so happy to see Becky Lynch that I was willing to swallow anything.
Please continue.
So immature. I was willing to swallow anything, particularly when she was wearing those skin-tight leather pants. But I did like her one line where she said, do you know how hard it is to play mind games with someone that has no brain? I thought that was a good line.
It was a good line. It was wasted on something I didn't care about.
That was really the only good part of the promo. It was kind of... I didn't like, it was disappointing that there wasn't a Becky chant, but they didn't really give the opportunity because she came out. The crowd, she got a good pop when her music hit.
And then they killed it with a commercial break.
Mostly for me, but not just for me. And then, the second she gets to the ring, they go to commercial.
Dead. And of course, the audience is sitting down.
They turn the lights off in the stadium and you watch commercials for 5 minutes while she's just standing in the ring in the dark waiting.
Yeah.
And then you come back and then you're supposed to be hyped again and you're not. You're just
you weren't.
done.
Nope.
And then she cuts her promo. And then when everybody was about to start chanting Becky, her music hit again. And then they went to commercial. It was just like there was no opportunity for it. So it took the energy that was there.
Yeah. Again, commercial breaks kill these shows.
Yeah. It was just...
I know it's called SmackDown Live. You don't have to make it live. Like, just film it live with the crowd so you don't lose your pacing or anything. Do the commercial breaks, inject them into the show after. Like, you can be 10, 20, 30 minutes behind the program, and that'll allow you to edit certain things out if something gets screwed up or something. Like, it benefits everybody if it's kind of live. It's SmackDown kind of live.
Sadly. Fox's $100 billion says that ain't happening, my
God
friend. Damn it. But yeah, not great. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. I am also bored of this story at this point.
Yep.
So hopefully they add some new wrinkles sometime soon, maybe. And maybe Becky will actually get to wrestle a little bit, which she seems to never do anymore. So.
Yep.
But it was great to see the man in person.
And then next up, we had an awesome match between Rey Mysterio, R-Truth, as a tag team versus Samoa Joe and Andrade. This was not a title match. It was just for fun. But boy, was it fun.
It was fun.
Unfortunately, we weren't hearing the announcers live, but there was an infamous moment where Corey Graves told a joke so funny that Byron had to start doing the play-by-play because they just couldn't stop laughing. And they were literally just there giggling about it for the entire match.
Yeah, Byron said something about, you want to shy away from certain things because you want to keep your confidence high. And Corey responded, "Is that why you don't date?" And Tom Phillips started laughing so hard that he actually just went silent, so you couldn't hear him say anything. And then there was this minute and a half where Phillips couldn't do commentary because he was laughing so hard. So Byron actually started calling the match because he was like, "Oh, I guess no one else is gonna call this thing." So he started calling the match, and then Corey started losing it a little bit just because he was seeing how bad Tom Phillips was laughing. And then eventually Phillips jumped back in after like a minute and a half.
It was so good.
It was so funny.
Good. It's like a priceless moment.
So funny.
If you enjoy the announcing,
these are the
art.
This is why they have to keep it live.
Yeah, that part was.
These
great.
are the pitfalls of live TV.
See, right after I say that, you convince me I'm wrong. Damn it! Now I gotta take it back. This isn't live.
It only happens live.
I'm gonna edit it out, and you're never gonna know.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
But the match was awesome, and we had a kind of surprise ending where Rey Mysterio gets the pin there, and
another roll up. We're gonna start calling him Samoa Joe up because he gets rolled up so damn much.
There was a really weird outside thong he was wearing though.
Yeah, it
was really awkward. It was awkward live, and it was even more awkward zoomed in on TV.
I'm sure it was a tribute to someone, but not my kind of tribute.
Maybe it was a tribute to Asuka. But it was
outside thong.
Sorry,
it works on Asuka. It doesn't
maybe
work
it's
on Rey.
because I'm
It doesn't work on 44-year-old luchadors, Ray. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm not gonna read any more into it. It was just weird. It just didn't look right.
Very uncomfortable.
It was very uncomfortable. We did have the awesome double 619 to end it off there, close to the end at least, where he gets the 619 on both Samoa Joe and Andrade, which was a cool spot. Pretty awesome.
Really cool spot.
And then Mysterio gets the pin on Samoa Joe, and Joe, as he does, just rages against R-Truth and Andrade and destroys them while Mysterio is kind of stumbling back away from the ring going, fuck that.
Samoa Joe up was not happy.
Yeah, no, he was not. But overall, awesome match. I don't know if you got anything to add to that, but
nope. Think you covered it. Pretty good match. Good wrestling. In a night with not a lot of wrestling, this was some good wrestling.
Yeah, and then we had another pretty awesome match following up. Not quite as great as the Fastlane matchup, but still really solid and really great. We had Kevin Owens and Mustafa Ali in the tag team versus Daniel Bryan and Rowan. And Rowan, once again, got a ton of showtime, which is great. I think it's a good thing, for the storyline, because it takes the heat off Daniel Bryan until WrestleMania, and that's when you get to showcase Daniel Bryan and have him fresh, where Rowan's doing all the heavy lifting right now, which I think is appropriate. It gives Rowan a time to shine where he hasn't really gotten the opportunity since he was with Bray Wyatt and whatnot. He was always kind of a background goon, and now he's getting some more light. He's quoting Galileo live on TV, and he's just rocking everybody on the roster, and it's fun to watch.
Rowan was the guy I least enjoyed in this match. I like Rowan.
I enjoyed it.
I don't dislike Rowan. Yeah. I just love the other three guys so much.
The other guys are great. It's fucking hard to stand up next to those other guys.
True. It's true.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Rowan because he never gets
pulling his weight.
He never gets any love, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah, he is.
And I also love that he looks like a Dr. Seuss character who happens to also be a Viking.
He really sells that kind of unhinged, sadistic half-wit kind of goon,
like the hills have eyes type of deal.
His character feels real.
I love it.
He is definitely immersing himself in it.
And I did put, again, fuck commercials, because this was a great match, and I missed some of it on the TV program because, it was stuff that we couldn't. But yeah, this is another one of those matches where we had commercials. Just always fucking commercials. And, of course, we were at the live show. Don't know if we told you yet.
We were there.
Were you? Fuck off! But after going back and watching the show, I was like, fuck, they missed some pretty good stuff that we got to see live. That was pretty awesome. And then we had the towards the end there, we had Rowan being the monster he is and doing his iron claw.
Yes.
and slamming down
Truly
Mustafa
disturbing
Ali.
finisher,
Poor
suiting the character.
Mustafa Ali is just a punching bag at this
Yeah.
point. The guy's amazing.
He was the highlight of this match for me.
But he just keeps getting his ass destroyed because he sells so well.
Yes.
He's really, really, really good at selling.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he could make Alexa Bliss look like Brock Lesnar if he wanted to.
Yeah, he's really good at his job.
He's in for a push, I think, but he's going to have to pay his dues, so to speak.
Yeah. And in the end, Rowan gets the pin and does pretty much all of the heavy lifting for Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan gets in there a few times to do his, very malicious technical wrestling. Yeah. And he did like one flying knee, I think, somewhere in there. I can't remember when, but yeah, it was what we expect in the build up to WrestleMania with all of these matchups against Daniel Bryan and Rowan, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah,
I really did.
Yeah, me too. I wanted a little more KO, but that was my only complaint. It was pretty good for a TV main event.
Yep, and I love seeing Mustafa Ali. After he got injured and Kofi came in and had that whole wave, I was like, "Fuck, Mustafa Ali's gonna be forgotten." Yeah, he's just gonna be he's gonna be left behind.
Yeah, I was concerned about that too.
Next to the roadside there, but they've been letting him wrestle. Of course, he's getting his ass kicked every time, but
still,
it's still fun to see him.
They're putting him in those matches for a reason. I think Vince is high on him, and he has good reason to be.
Yep, and we got to see his entrance live, so that was cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, we had the end of the show. The boss himself, Vince McMahon, comes out and goes on his rant about the New Day and specifically the whole Kofi situation. And it's this is something where he came out to not only the I'm not worthy chants that everybody was doing, but also horrendous boos as you would expect from the boss, which is why we love Vince as a character, because he plays the character so well. He is the character. He's a legend. He built this $1 billion enterprise pretty much by himself.
Yeah, he knows something. He knows something about how to do this.
There's a reason why we love him, even if we don't think he should necessarily be the person in charge of the storylines and whatnot.
Give it to the game.
Yeah, give it to Papa H. But at the live show, there was something we noticed. There was a commercial break right after his entrance, after he gives a little bit of his speech. And he was behind the scenes in the dark, like setting everybody up. He was telling where the cameraman should be. He was telling where the ref to stand. He was telling.
He was directing traffic in the dark during the commercial.
What
break.
A fucking pro, dude!
He never stops.
The
working.
boss is never not the boss.
That's the one thing I've always heard about him, is that he never stops working, and now can confirm.
Yeah, it was a commercial break,
He
and
does
it was
not stop working.
It was not a short commercial break. It was a long ass commercial break with a whole WrestleMania promo added to it. And he was just working on the entire time. We're watching him direct traffic, tell everybody where to stand, where to point the camera, where the lights should be pointing, how he's going to walk around this area, how he's going to go to this area during the speech, where Kofi's going to stand, where the New Day's going to stand. I was very impressed, and I was kind of awestruck by it, because I don't think we've seen him live, have we?
No.
Yeah.
No. I did once. Back when he was even more enormous, by the way, and the lapels on his vest were at a
bursting at the
45-degree angles because his chest was so huge. He's got a little smaller, but he's still a big guy for 73.
Yeah,
and I don't know how he finds the time.
Men's Health article he did, I think, last year.
Yeah,
where he's holding the chains. The dude's always huge. Working. Of course, he's roiding, but
always working.
Everybody knows he's roiding, but it doesn't take away from the work he's put in. But yeah, love Vince. So basically, Vince is going on this long-winded rant where he's getting booed the entire time, as you'd expect, playing up the character. And then New Day comes out and interrupts.
All business New Day, by the way. They weren't bringing no pancakes.
No pancakes,
they were
no bootios.
They were walking straight to the ring.
No trumpet.
All business.
Yep. And it was cool. I think you disagreed with me a little bit, but I don't like how the majority of it, I flipped a little bit when Kofi came in at the end, but I didn't like how the majority of it and majority of the speaking up to this point seems to be done by Big E and Xavier Woods. I feel like if you're going to push Kofi as this big character that needs to have his push and get the respect he deserves, he needs to stand up for himself And I haven't seen that. And that's what makes me kind of disappointed in this whole movement is that
I do disagree with that.
I feel like in all of these little promos and everything, it's always Big E talking for him. It's always Xavier Woods talking for him. It's never him. He's always looking away, not looking at Vince in the eyes directly, just kind of being passive. He's like a beaten stepchild or something. He just doesn't play the part that I think he should be playing as a guy trying to get his own. Now, when he's up against people, he does. He, with AJ Styles, come on, I'm a man. It's been 11 years, blah, blah, blah. When he was shouting at AJ Styles, I was all about it. But he doesn't do that with Vince for some reason. And I feel like the other two are pulling it too much. And I think Vince kind of had a point when he's talking about these young bucks that are constantly pulling you along, because it was shown even in the promo. Now, of course, that changes at the end. At the end, he pushes them aside and starts going into his spiel.
Yeah, he does stand up for himself.
Which is what he needs to do, but he didn't do it until the last 5 seconds of the promo before Vince throws the gauntlet match at him. But I just feel like up to this point that he hasn't been selling his character very well. And I don't know if that's the writing. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be framed, because he is so respectful of the organization. But I don't like how Big E and Xavier Woods have been doing all the heavy lifting and the promo work specifically.
Yeah, I totally disagree. I think this was really, really good storytelling in this promo. I think it's one of the best promos I've ever seen, to be honest. I very strongly disagree. I mean, he showed anger with AJ Styles because he was in a competitive place where AJ was trying to pity him, and he didn't want to be pitied. He wanted to take his shot at getting into the main event. That's when it's the time to show anger. In this case, yelling at your boss is probably not going to get you anywhere. So what he did was he came out to hear what the boss had to say, and that was what was on his face, was the anguish of, this isn't fair, and I know it, and you know it, but let's talk about it. When Vince started saying you're a B-plus player, you're not a main event guy, you're hanging around these young bucks, all this kind of stuff, that pissed off Xavier Woods and Big E. And that is something that I think we all experience in real life, which is you're much quicker to anger on behalf of someone you love than you are on your own behalf. Most people, that's how it works. If someone fucks with your girlfriend, you're gonna get angry quicker than if they say something about you. They say something about you, you'll just be like, okay, whatever, dude. If they say something about your girlfriend, you're gonna get pissed off. This is their best friend. This is their brother. They are angry on his behalf. Yeah. So but
it's been 11 years.
So he allows them to say their piece. He allows them to say their piece, to express what they're feeling in that moment, because they're the angry ones. He is calm and composed, and he's going to say what he has to say, but he's going to let his friends just get it off their chest. They get it off their chest. They say what they need to say. And then he says, okay, that's enough, guys. I don't want you guys getting fired for me. So he steps in once they start to escalate to the point that they're putting themselves in jeopardy. He lets them say their piece. He lets them express themselves. But then once they're putting themselves in jeopardy, that's when he says, all right, I got this. You guys can back off. That's when he tells Vince, just, look, I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to threaten you. I'm not going to hit you. Just, what do I need to do? Just tell me what I need to do. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been busting my ass. I don't complain. I always do the right thing. I always show up to work.
But
I miss my family
keep
moments.
doing that?
What do I need to do, Vince?
He's already done this.
This is very...
And clearly it hasn't worked. He's already done the nice guy, what do I need to do, Vince?
He hasn't, though.
He has.
He hasn't.
He's constantly been asking,
no, he
give
hasn't,
me the
he
title
hasn't
match, what do I got to do? And Vince always screws him over.
He hasn't been screwed over until Fastlane.
Screwed over at Fastlane.
He was screwed over at Fastlane, and this is the Fastlane Fallout show. So this is the first time they're interacting since he realizes that Vince is openly screwing him over, and this is his response to it, which is, you hurt me, but you know what? I think I deserve this. This is why. What do I need to do? These are conversations people have with their bosses all the time.
Yeah, but
I thought the character acting was really good. He's angry when he needs to be angry. He's fired up when he doesn't need to be angry all the time. That's Ronda Rousey. That's not Kofi Kingston. That's not who he is. That's not his character. So he was being very clear. What do I need to do? And Vince did tell him what he needs to do, which is win a gauntlet match against 5 men next week. So I thought it was a great promo. I thought it was mostly heavy. I thought the New Day are really showing off their acting chops, their character work chops. I really felt the emotion from all 3 of them. It felt genuine to me, especially Kofi. I loved the facial expressions that he had going before he spoke, and you could just feel the pain and the injustice of it, and you felt for him. And then he really spoke from the heart, talking about not being able to go trick-or-treating with his kids for all these years because he's always been here. So I think this is great storytelling. I think this is the kind of storytelling WWE doesn't do enough of, and that's why nobody cares and nobody reacts to anybody anymore, and that's why the whole place was drowned with Kofi chants the entire night because of the story they're telling with him. So I thought it was great. I thought it was one of the best promos I've seen. yeah, I thought it was fantastic, to be honest.
All right. Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
It wasn't my thing. But I totally get why you liked it.
But there will be a gauntlet match next week.
This week in reality.
If Kofi is able to defeat The Bar, Randy Orton, Samoa Joe, and Rowan all in a row,
which we expect.
He will get a... Do we?
I mean,
that's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
Including a 13-time world champion.
But
and the reigning U.S. champion.
We are, 3 weeks? Two and a half weeks from WrestleMania?
2.5 weeks from WrestleMania?
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah.
We're officially 3 weeks from WrestleMania.
Oh, yes. Excuse me. Sorry, jumping ahead in time here. We are time travelers.
Yeah, so gauntlet match I expect that to be the main event next week. We'll see how much time they give that match. I'm very interested in the outcome. Who knows?
Oh. It's probably what we expect.
So that was the send-off.
Probably what I expect.
They went dark as they... So, yeah, and I'll just say that on the strength of the promo work, I had one complaint about the show, which was not enough wrestling, but...
The same complaint I had.
Shane's promo, excellent. Becky's promo, Usos promo, excellent. Styles Orton, fire.
Awesome promo.
And then I thought the last promo was also fire. And one of the best promos I've seen. So on the strength of all that, I gave the show a 9.5.
Gave it a 9.5. But there wasn't enough wrestling.
There wasn't enough wrestling. That's what the half point is.
Goddamn.
But the promo work
I'm
was
calling
so
out your
good.
live person bias.
I watched it again and I thought it was better the second time because I could hear everything. I couldn't hear anything with the chick that was sitting behind us screaming during every promo all night. Once I actually got to hear it, it was even better than I thought. I mean, I didn't hear him say, "I don't want you guys getting fired for me." I didn't hear him say, "What do I need to do?" I didn't hear some of that stuff. I didn't hear Vince say you're a B+ player at the time.
We did not hear a lot of that.
Being able to hear all of that and seeing the facial expressions more because Vince was kind of standing in our view.
Yeah, Vince was blocking.
So I couldn't really see Kofi's face, and when I saw his face on TV, it broke my freaking heart. And that's how I knew how good a promo it was. So
I just didn't like how
I thought it
pathetic
was
he looks.
Great storytelling
for a guy that's trying to be his own champion. That's not what a champion does. He doesn't sit there and pout and
I'm okay with showing
put his tail between his legs.
Well, it's not pouting.
He's pouting. He's putting his tail between his legs.
No, that's not.
He looked like a hurt puppy dog.
That's just false.
That's
just
the
wrong.
truth.
It was not pouting. Pouting is when this is pouting. Okay, that's pouting. That wasn't what he was doing.
No, he was doing that without his arms
waiting
crossed.
for an opportunity.
That's what he was doing.
He was sad and hurt and waiting for an opportunity to speak. And then when he got an opportunity to speak, he spoke very directly.
Well, he had the opportunity the entire time.
And courageously. No, he was letting his friends get their anger off their chest.
He made himself look like a bitch. That's what I thought.
Oh, jeez. Well, you think everyone needs to be Aleister Black is your problem.
I don't know. I've been around a lot of strong leaders, specifically in the Army, and none of them acted like that when they wanted to do something great or try something new. They stood their ground. They did what they're supposed to.
Military.
Well, you
don't show emotional vulnerability.
This is a combat situation. This is wrestling.
It's not. It's a storytelling.
This isn't your boss at the office where you're in
a soap opera.
Where you're in a cubicle every day.
It's a soap opera.
Pass.
Very good soap
Hard
opera.
Pass. But overall, I love the show because when the wrestling was there, it was awesome. Overall, the promos, there was some fucking amazing promos during the show. Even if I don't agree with you on the Kofi one, like the AJ Styles, fucking Randy Orton one was amazing. Usos are always entertaining. Shane McMahon was great. I love Vince. Even though I don't think it was a bad promo. I just didn't think it was as good as it should have been for the Kofi thing. And I think Vince was carrying most of it with Big E kind of taking the lead on that side. But because Big E's great on the mic in general. But I gave it a really, really strong 7 out of 10. And my only complaint was that there just wasn't enough of the wrestling. And the wrestling was awesome when it was there. And live, we obviously got more live than people did on the TV show. But I feel like there could have been more. So I gave it a really strong, almost an 8, 7 out of 10. So really enjoyed it. And that's my verdict there. I did not see NXT yet, so I'm going to go back and watch it. But why don't you run us through it?
Well, we can do 205 live since we both saw it.
Sure, why not?
In person.
Let's knock it out.
So in the opening match, the tournament to determine Buddy Murphy's opponent at WrestleMania continued. These were the semifinals. Cedric Alexander versus Oni Lorcan. On the flip, this was kind of the upside of sticking around for 205 Live, was that there wasn't enough wrestling on SmackDown. Well, 205 Live gave you a full hour of wrestling. So there were two very extended matches for this tournament, starting with Cedric Alexander and Oni Lorcan.
We were predicting that there was going to be a third match while we were there live watching it, and we're like, damn, these matches are going kind of long.
Yeah.
How are they going to fit another match in? And then they didn't.
They gave him the whole show, and it was great. I mean, these matches both probably went 20 minutes.
Yeah, they were awesome. Even the guys we didn't
fantastic.
really like before the match, we really grew an appreciation for, I think, because we were blown away by how good it was.
Yeah.
You know, even though they weren't necessarily the biggest names, they were fucking putting on a show.
Yeah, certainly with Cedric Alexander and Oni Lorcan, I knew it was going to be good. I was hyping out Alexander to you as he was coming out.
He's pushing Cedric pretty hard there.
I like Cedric a lot. I think he's a fantastic in-ring performer.
And he was awesome.
He's another guy that struggles with promo work, which is what holds him back. But there are very few guys I want to see in a match more than Cedric, if Cedric's an option. He showed off what he's so good with. The only complaint I had with that match was that Lorcan hit his finisher from the top rope, and it wasn't a 3. And I always hate when that happens, really, in any situation. I think if anybody hits their finisher from the top rope, it should be a 3 count, unless somebody, at the very least, he should have got his foot on the rope.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should be kicking out of a finisher off the top rope. That's just minor nitpick, minor hang up. But besides that, really, really good, long form match.
It was really entertaining. Really loved it.
Yeah.
Cedric's fucking amazing.
He's incredible. I love him.
I was blown away by that guy.
As expected, he won the match with the lumbar check, which is his finisher. So great stuff from Cedric Alexander as always. Got a couple Let's Go Cedric chants going. So that was a fun time. Then a quick Mike Kanellis promo. He didn't come out this week, but he did go to Drake Maverick, who informed him that on the next edition of 205 Live, he will be competing against, quote, one of the top cruiserweights in the world, end quote. And if he loses, he is going to be losing his job on 205 Live. So we'll see who his opponent is next week. I'm interested to see who that opponent is because I totally don't know. And if he loses, he's gone. So we'll see what happens with Mike Kanellis next week. And in the main event, it was the other semifinal match of the Cruiserweight tournament. The premier athlete, Tony Nese, took on the submission specialist, Drew Gulak, in another really long, really good match.
Yeah, like now, Gulak, I know who Gulak is because we watched him previously in a couple matches. I think they were both on NXT.
Yeah, we saw him in NXT. Yeah, I showed him to you in NXT.
That's where I know him from. And I'm not a huge fan because, again, he's very technical, very slow, a lot of grapples. And
he doesn't really leave his feet.
Yeah, these weird, stretches and abdomen stretch and, these arm bars and just contorting people's bodies on the ground, which is not great for a live audience, as we know.
Yes.
Because you can't fucking see. But I'm not the biggest Gulak fan. But in this match with Nese, it was just, they both went all out. They were both awesome. And he wasn't just doing the technical stuff. He was showing that he can do all the other stuff just as well.
I think he went to the second turnbuckle at one point.
Yeah, he did.
Which was unusual for him.
Yeah, it was awesome. He
became more of a suplex machine than a submission specialist for this one.
I expected this to be kind of a snore fest, Nese, I'd seen him once before in kind of a throwaway match. I can't remember who he was against, but I've only seen him one time. Maybe it was the Royal Rumble. Was he in the Royal Rumble?
He might have been. I don't remember.
But I remember seeing him one time.
I don't remember the last time I've seen him either.
But I remember seeing him one time, and it was like a throwaway thing, and he was out. And Gulak, I just explained my experience with him. I've seen him in his technical matches. I like him because he helped me introduce Guggenhagen. Bugenhagen. Filthy casual here. But no, Bugenhagen was hilarious, and I want to see more of him. And they had their whole technical matchup there with Bugenhagen's little gimmick going on the whole time.
Yeah, he's only seen Gulak used as a guitar.
And it was amazing. And then we had the original bro or whatever come out and have his whole submission off.
Yes, super submission off,
which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But this match, I love this. I honestly thought this match was better than the first match, and the first match was really good.
Yeah.
I know you're a huge Cedric fan, so that probably helped you out. but
I'm biased.
I'm not as familiar with all these guys, so just with the two matches as separate, somewhat unknown entities, I really enjoyed the second one.
Yeah.
And not to say I didn't enjoy Cedric's match, I just thought the second match with Nice and Gulak was just that good.
Yeah.
It was that good.
Fantastic.
And it was something that was a pleasant surprise for me because I expected nothing from this match.
Yeah, and this is just 205 Live every week. I mean, if you're a person that cares about the in-ring product and doesn't really care about a dead crowd or weak storytelling, then 205 Live is the show for you because this is a phenomenal in-ring product every single week. And once again, they brought it this week. Tony Nese did get the win over Drew Gulak, so he will advance, which means the finals to determine Buddy Murphy's opponent at WrestleMania will be Cedric Alexander versus Tony Nese on 205 Live next week. Who knows who's going to win that one? You certainly don't. And so good show. I'm going to start giving grades to 205 Live because we were not covering 205 Live for our first several episodes.
Yeah,
so
by all means.
I gave 205 Live a 9.5.
I give it a 9.
I'm giving out
I
really.
give it a 9.
Yeah, gave it a 9. I mean,
the only reason I don't give it a 10 is because there wasn't a third match.
Yeah. I mean,
I give it a 9.
The in-ring product was so top-notch, and we were starving for some wrestling after the SmackDown where there was so little. So 205 Live delivered what we were needing.
And then, of course, we in our live event got a little boost because at the end there, AJ Styles and Randy Orton came out and gave the audience a little extra bonus wrestling
quick
there.
Little 5-minute dark match.
Which was pretty great as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We had a great experience all around.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you take us through NXT and NXT UK?
Okay, so on NXT, the Dusty Classic continued with the Forgotten Sons and Mustache Mountain. This match wasn't great for me. I was kind of surprised by that. I don't love the Forgotten Sons gimmick, but I heard someone call them I heard someone refer to them as white power sanity. That is pretty much.
It's kind of accurate.
That's pretty much all I think about now when I see the Forgotten Sons is that they're white power sanity. So I don't love their gimmick, but I do think that they're good in the ring, and I think Mustache Mountain is one of the best tag teams on planet Earth. So I was kind of expecting a pretty good match here, and I didn't really get it.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of disappointing, and the outcome was disappointing because the Forgotten Sons defeated Mustache Mountain, so that was just the fan in me that wanted to see Mustache Mountain advance, and I certainly don't want to see Forgotten Sons versus War Raiders at TakeOver when we have all these other excellent teams available.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
That was kind of a bummer. Then after that, we had Io Shirai versus Bianca Belair. Io and Bianca have been going at it a little bit for the last couple weeks, ever since they had a tag match together against Shayna Baszler and her goons. Io Shirai, of course, pinned the NXT Women's Champion in that match, and her and Bianca had a little bit of a run-in afterwards. They've been throwing barbs at each other, so they got into the ring to settle it. It was a decent match. Didn't go super long. It felt like it went only 8 or 9 minutes. I didn't check, but it felt like it went 8 or 9 minutes. Good to see Io in action, so I won't complain about that. She is really, really fun to watch. She's the master of the sky for a reason. She flies, and it's really impressive in a way that most women don't. Bianca Belair, of course, is mega talented, super athletic, so pretty fun match. But as usual, whenever anyone that's sniffing around Shayna Baszler is wrestling, she was at the announce desk talking about how worthless everybody in the ring was. And then eventually she lost her patience, went into the ring, destroyed everybody. Kyrie came out to try to make a save wearing her mom jeans, and right when she got to the ring, she was also instantly destroyed by Shayna Baszler.
What kind of pirate wears mom jeans?
So Shayna choked out all 3 women with the Kirifuna clutch and left them all laying in the ring and stormed out like the big bad biatch that she is. Which,
they're dead.
By the way,
they're literally dead.
Which, by the way, if Ronda leaves, please put Shayna on the main roster so she can do this on the main roster. And as she was leaving, she was accosted, shall we say, by the NXT backstage interviewer. Can't remember her name right now, but she delivered the news to Shayna that William Regal was not too fond of her assault on all 3 of her potential number 1 contenders. And so William Regal decided it's going to be a fatal 4-way at NXT TakeOver for the NXT Women's Championship. It will be Io Shirai, Kairi Sane, Bianca Belair versus Shayna Baszler. So that match should be awesome, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Very
as
nice.
I am the rest of the TakeOver card.
Very nice.
Very fun stuff. Good story advancement there. Shayna looking badass as usual. And in the main event, the Dusty Classic, rolled on with Blackish A versus DIY. This match was an absolute banger. I just wrote down absolute banger in my notes.
Excellent notes.
This was
So is Ciampa fully back from injury?
So this was the last set of tapings before
Before the
injury was
Gotcha.
I think it might have happened in this match. I'm not 100% sure. I think it might have happened. I think
that's right. I popped in for this match
Yeah.
while you were watching it. Okay.
Yeah, you did. So I know that this injury was kind of something that had continued over time, as it usually is with these situations. I forget exactly what the condition is called, but it's the same one that ended Paige's career and Edge's career.
Oh, wow.
So I know he's got, I think it's stenosis. I think that's what it's called. But I think that's what he has, and I think it was something that was building up, but I think it was exacerbated in this match at some point. But the match itself was fantastic. It was a 5-star match. One of the best tag matches of the year.
As you would expect.
Yeah, as you would expect. These are excellent wrestlers, and even though Blackish A doesn't have the best teamwork yet, they showed more of it in this match than they have in any of their tag matches yet, in my opinion. And of course, DIY is just DIY. I mean, we can't say anything more about Gargano and Ciampa at this point. So Blackish A ended up getting the win. The reason for that was because Gargano was stuck on the outside with an injured knee, couldn't get up, couldn't stand. So Ciampa was pretty much going it alone against both Ricochet and Black. He got hit with the Black Mask.
Ironic.
Yes.
Ironic.
He got hit
Ciampa was the guy going at it alone because of a knee injury.
It gets more ironic, trust me. So Ciampa was hit with the Black Mass and the 640 to lose, and he helped Johnny Gargano to the back with his injured knee. And when they got to the top of the entrance ramp, Johnny Wrestling grabbed Ciampa by the neck and threw him into the LED board in the exact same fashion that Ciampa did to Gargano at NXT Chicago. That started
all
their
bridges
entire
were mended.
That started their entire feud was Ciampa attacking Gargano. Oh no, actually, I'm sorry. I already delivered this wrong. Ciampa attempted to throw Gargano into the LED board again, like the shitbag that he is. Gargano stopped him.
Damn you, Larfleeze.
Gargano stopped him by stepping onto the knee that was supposedly injured and smiling, showing that he was faking it, and then threw Gargano into the LED board himself. So this means, I believe, that Gargano anticipated another... Yes, exactly. I believe Gargano anticipated another betrayal on Ciampa's part, was ready for it, faked an injury, and double-crossed him instead, and assaulted him a little bit after that. Him and his wife, Candice LeRae. She had a wicked smile on her face. He had a wicked smile on his face. The crowd was chanting Johnny Wrestling. He is fully embracing this heel who thinks he's a hero role beautifully. I think this was the next logical step in this feud. I'm glad that they're not just buddy-buddy again, because that was ridiculous. And this is a good way to write Ciampa off TV for kayfabe reasons. So really, really well handled at the end there. Really well handled. Once again, NXT storytelling blows the main roster so badly out of the water. It's embarrassing. I don't understand how this is the same company. But alas, here we are.
I think we all know why.
Yeah,
I think we know why. Yeah.
Give the reins to the game. So, because of the disappointment of Forgotten Sons and Mustache Mountain, I knocked this show down a little bit, but I still gave it a 9.0 because that main event was a match of the year.
You knocked it down a little bit?
I knocked it down a little bit.
You knocked it down to a 9?
Well,
I wouldn't call that knocking it down.
The main event was a 5-star match, so usually a 5-star match in NXT is going to give me pretty close, but wow. Phew.
They just weren't up to snuff. I'm going to have to give this one a 9.
Mere 9.
A 9.
This is how high NXT sets the bar. I'm going to have to start giving them 12s and 13s and
Raw
shit.
would murder half of its roster to get a 9.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
They're not sniffing 9s. NXT's bad week is a 9. So for NXT UK... we had an opening match between Wolfgang of Gallus versus Flash Morgan Webster. This was a pretty solid match. Fun to see Flash Morgan Webster flying around trying to overcome Wolfgang's power. Ultimately, he was not able to overcome it. Wolfgang got himself a win, which I think he needed because he's mostly been taking losses in every match that he's been involved with lately. Yeah. And he needs to continue to stay legitimate as the monster member of the Gallus stable. So that was fun. Then we had a tag match, Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan versus Saxon Huxley and Tyson T-Bone. which was an odd pairing. And I don't really love Saxon Huxley. I think Tyson T-Bone has some potential as a monstrous type guy. Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan is also a weird pairing, really. I did find it fun how Amir Jordan was trying to get Kenny Williams to do that dance that he does when he comes to the ring. Pretty decent match. It was fun. I mean, that's the word I would use for it. And ultimately, Kenny Williams scored the pin with a Swanton Bomb.
Which is always fun to see.
Then they did a little bit more dancing afterward. So, pretty fun tag match. Not a lot of tag matches on NXT UK, so this is kind of a change of pace. And I believe Amir Jordan and Kenny Williams should be part of a story moving forward. There was a brief promo with Ginny, the fashionista, talking about how tired she is of Toni Storm and all the accolades and attention she gets. Sort of a similar style to the kinds of promos that Rhea Ripley was cutting towards the end of their feud. Ginny cuts a good promo. I'm not really a huge fan of hers, but she cuts a good promo. This was really good work. It felt genuine. It felt real. She was answering questions and responding to them very strongly and very well and very in character, very sharp. So pretty decent promo. Then Eddie Dennis, a guy who I'm also really not a fan of, cut a promo revealing that he will be returning to NXT UK TV next week to go against Ligero. That match should be interesting. So that was just fine, but not an Eddie Dennis fan. There's just something about him. He's like a monstrous heel guy, but he's really lanky. Like, he is as powerful as he's supposed to be. He when Cindy and I were watching NXT TakeOver UK Blackpool, he had a match against Mastiff, who's a 300-pound man, and he was repeatedly just lifting him and throwing him around, no problem, even though he's this lanky guy. So he is as powerful as he's supposed to be, but he doesn't look it. Yeah, well, not all lanky guys are strong. So.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
I wouldn't specify anybody. So, I mean, I get why they like him, but there's just something incongruous about his abilities and his look to me that turns me off.
Wow.
Then there was an appearance from the Scottish supernova, Noam Dar, who apparently will be moving over from 205 Live to NXT UK. But Noam Dar, his promo was really funny. He actually got the crowd pretty heated by telling an English crowd that the most beautiful part of the United Kingdom is Glasgow. That was pretty golden.
That's amazing and probably not true.
Are they? No, they're English.
They're English.
But yeah, really good promo from Noam Dar. Funny, charming, like always. Got a little heelish towards the end, turned against the crowd a little bit. They were really happy to see him to start out, which I was glad about, because he's a fun personality. Towards the end, he dissed Mark Andrews, which did not sit well with Andrews, to the point that he came out and went ahead and roughed Dar up a little bit, threw him out of the ring. So I guess that will be the beginning of a tiny person feud there.
Tiny person feud.
They are very small men. And then after that, there was a little promo from Xia Brookside talking about her upbringing as, of course, the daughter of a legendary wrestler who is now a trainer for NXT, and the bullying she received apparently as a result of that growing up. So that is her justification for not liking bullies, and she believes the biggest bully in NXT UK is Rhea Ripley, and she is correct. And so that will be the start of that feud. I guess this is fine. I'm a huge Rhea fan, so I want her to be on my TV more. So I was kind of hoping she would move to NXT or the main roster soon. I thought that she had pretty much run her course after finishing up with Toni Storm.
Yeah.
But if she is going to be around a little longer, maybe she'll give Xia Brookside the rub on her way out and then move up then. But I really hope to see her at the very least in NXT before this year is out. So hopefully she moves up soon because she is ready.
Post-WrestleMania, anything is possible.
Yeah, that's true. Superstar shakeup's coming. After that, we had a much anticipated debut from the Scottish Kaylee Ray. She went against Candy Floss, who is a young talent who I like. Mostly, it was practically a squash match. I mean, it was not blatant. It wasn't over in 2 minutes. They probably went 4 minutes. So Candy Floss got a little bit of offense, but it was mainly a squash match. So just some build for Kaylee Ray. And then in the main event, it was Walter, the ring general, teaming up with the Bruiserweight and the reigning WWE UK champion, Pete Dunne, against the Coffee Brothers, and this was the best main event that NXT UK has had. in its whole existence.
Wow.
And
Wow.
this whole week of wrestling was just,
Oh.
I couldn't believe what I was saying.
I have trouble believing that.
Oh my goodness. It was so good. And
All right, I'm going to watch this show, and on our follow-up
Yeah.
episode for this week,
at least watch the main event. Just watch Walter.
I am
and
going
the
to
Bruiserweight.
call you out on your shit if you are lying to me. Because the
Well-
last time you made me watch Walter, it was
Yes.
Walter versus Oh
Cassius
No,
Ohno, yeah,
and it was fucking
that was
horrible.
not good.
It
That
was
was not
so bad.
In my defense, I was seeing the match live too. So it's not like I called you to see a match that sucked that I thought was good. Okay. I realized it was bad after it started too.
All right. Giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, you can't put two fat brawlers into a ring together and expect a good match to happen.
Especially when you're zooming in on those cottage cheese thighs and nobody's getting any good cracks.
And no spoilers, but Cassius Ohno wrestles next week in NXT UK and has a really good match. So if you put him with the right opponent, and it's the same thing with Walter. In this case, these were good opponents, and Walter playing off the Bruiserweight.
Cassius, please wear pants. Please.
And I will also say,
I beg you.
one of the other developments of my takeover binge last week was that I am a Pete Dunne fan now. I really didn't like him the first time I saw him. I saw him main event at NXT UK Takeover Blackpool. It was my first exposure to him. The match was way too long against Joe Coffey. I didn't like the whole finger bending, finger cracking stuff.
Yeah, the finger stuff
but
sucks.
It's
really lame.
But he's really grown on me. I've seen him enough times now in enough matches that, I mean, he's just a complete wrestler. I mean, he just does everything well. He's exactly the kind of wrestler I like, and that he doesn't do one thing really well. You know, like Walter's a really good brawler. Waller brawls with you. He's not going to jump off the top rope. He's not going to get into a grapple fest with you. He's just going to brawl with you, and he's going to beat you up, and he's going to do it really, really well. Ricochet's going to fly all over the place. He's going to do it really, really well. He's not going to grapple with you on the mat. He's not going to get into a striking fest with you. He's just going to fly around, and that's what he does. The wrestlers I like best are the ones that do a little bit of everything. The Seth Rollins, the AJ Styles, those kinds of people. They fly, they strike, they grapple. They do it all. And Pete Dunne has established himself in my mind as one of those guys. He can do all of it. He has incredible athleticism. He can fly when he needs to fly. He's one of the best grapplers in the company, I think, already, even though he's only 25 years old.
Wow.
He's a fantastic striker. His storytelling, his selling. He is a complete wrestler, and at a very young age, he's already been the UK champion for over 600 days when he's 25 years old. He is the rocket that NXT UK has been strapped to for its beginning, for establishing itself as a legitimate brand, and they chose the right guy. Big Pete Dunne fan now. So this match was really, really good. They told a really good story. There was one major botch in this match where Walter was supposed to go over the top rope and kind of got caught up and busted his face open, was bleeding for the rest of the match. So that was rough. But besides that, really, really fun stuff. Really good story was told. The tension between Walter and Pete Dunne, you could see it. You could see they were kind of trying to one-up each other. The Kofi brothers came out looking pretty strong. They were beating up on Walter for a while, which is good to see. It's good that you can have a monster character who has legitimacy as a monster, but also is an invincible Braun Strowman. So they told a really good story. All of the guys showed what they do well. I really, really like this main event. Walter won with the powerbomb, and then him and Pete Dunne had a bit of a square off where the belt was on the ground near Walter, who was bleeding from the face, which actually kind of added something to the face-off because he just looked so badass.
Nice.
And you were wondering if he was going to give the title over to Pete Dunne, and after a brief stare down with some audience tension, he did end up just giving the title to him. So they're keeping Walter a baby face, obviously. So presumably, if they have a match at TakeOver, which I don't know if they will yet because it hasn't officially been announced, it would be a match between two baby faces, which is always an interesting dynamic that some people don't like and some people do. I'm one of the people that does like it because I like competing champs.
I
It's
like
one
it
of my
when the
favorite
wrestlers are good.
Yes, and these are two very, very good wrestlers. I think that they will have a match of the year candidate if they put them together one-on-one.
But I swear to God, if they shake each other's hands after the match, I'm going to kill them.
It's going to happen.
I hate it.
It's gonna happen.
hate the shaking hands.
It's always
thing.
going to happen with
Hate it.
babyface versus babyface.
Unless it's like a send-off thing, like with Kurt Angle or something like that. That I can get with. You know, it's a respect thing because he's done it for his entire career. And okay, not when you just had one match. Fuck off.
Well,
This is a war zone. This is a gladiators arena. We don't shake hands in the gladiators arena.
no, it's not. It's gymnastics. So I gave the show an 8.5 this week. I did not think it was the best edition for the most part, but once again, like I said about Raw, I always look at the beginning and the end more than anything else, more than everything that happens in between. I thought the opening match between Wolfgang and Flash Morgan Webster was really good, and I thought the main event was really, really good. I really liked the main.
So we got through everything, but we're running a little late, so Dan had to take off for the time being. But of course, he will return on the next episode, which we will have out to you pretty soon here once I get caught up on all the shows. So let's just run you through the news. Once again, we aren't going to have a topic this week just because we had to review the pay-per-view for Fastlane, but there will be a topic next week, of course. So we got a few small items in the news here. The biggest one is that Ciampa is having neck surgery, and he will be out for a while due to that injury we believe he sustained during that great DIY versus Aleister Black and Ricochet matchup at the main event for that NXT match. Next up on the news, Las Vegas is listed as the early favorite right now to host WrestleMania 37, which seems consistent with a lot of the trends going Las Vegas's way, with the Oakland Raiders moving to Las Vegas, and obviously the possibilities for WrestleMania there. It seems like a lot of things are happening in Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Knights and the NHL, they just got their team down there, so there's a lot going on there. It seems like the city to be in the near future. And as of right now, there seems to be no plan for an Evolution 2, according to some of the news sources out there. So it may be worth looking into if nothing is appearing on the horizon, because it certainly seems like that is not going to be happening anytime soon. So that's pretty much all the news. Once again, I want to thank you all for sticking with us for another great episode of Hit the Mats podcast. On behalf of Dan the Man, Maloney, and myself, I want to thank you for sticking around and listening and tuning in. We do apologize. We did miss a week or so there where we were both just laid up sick. We did record one episode, but it was such poor quality, and we lost so much of the audio that it wasn't worth putting up. I tried editing and messing around with it for hours, and I just couldn't get it to a place where I was comfortable putting out into the ether. And honestly, I think it would have been a discredit to us and to you, our audience. Again, if you are feeling generous, we do have a Patreon page. The Patreon does support both the wrestling podcast, Hit the Mats, and the comic book podcast with Emery Saunders, Hit the Books. All of these you can find on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and on YouTube. And, of course, you can find links to all of these things on our website right on the main page at htbvids.com. You can also find our host blogs and whatnot there, and plenty of other useful tools and information, including previous comic book covers of the week and all sorts of things. Our Patreon page is patreon.com/hitthebooks. Our Twitter is at htbvids. Our Facebook is facebook.com/hitthebooks. Our website is htbvids.com. You can find links to basically every other feed and avenue for watching or listening on there. So be sure to check all that out. We are going to have a few more audio streaming services in the future. It's just a matter of having the time to get it all sorted out, because it does take time out of the day to get it all done. And Dan, Emery, and I all work full-time jobs, so we don't always have the most time on our hands to get stuff done. I think that pretty much covers it. Again, we're trying to get back on schedule. It seems to be a never-ending battle to stay up to date. Now with 2 shows instead of just the one, it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time. So please forgive us. Please be patient with us while we get everything sorted out and we keep working on everything. But I do anticipate we'll have more fun content and new stuff to announce in the near future, as long as everything progresses as we expect it to. Again, thank you for sticking with us for another episode of Hit the Mats podcast. We will see you very soon. Goodbye.